of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. And shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, August 15th. As always, we got a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. But Jensen, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Doing good. Good morning, everybody. We got a good interview for y'all at the end of this with Krule, Mads Krugger from MLW, the IWTV Independent Wrestling World Champion. So, really good show lineup for y'all today. Good stuff to talk about. This just came in the mail the other day as well. So, shout out to our homie Nacho Main. So, he was a recent guest. If you want to check that interview out after you watch this as well. So, yeah, things are good, man. How about you?
Doing well. You know, the early mornings again for me. I know we've talked about this before. We do this show very early, and I'm typically up early. But during the summer, I get to sleep in a little bit. So actually, Thursday becomes my early day when I during the summer when I get to sleep in a little bit. Now Thursday is just a normal day because kids are back in school, and so the wife's up before I am. But I'm typically up now, starting about 7:00, and yeah. This is now late for me. 8:30. I've already put in more work today than most people are going to do all day. I've only been around for like an hour, but still out working everybody. Oh, Jensen's coughing, so
no, we're good.
Good timing there.
Yeah, I muted myself. Yeah, that's good. Sounds like you're being super productive. This is me starting my day, then rolling right into my shoot job, which, by the way, everyone, I need to make sure that I'm clocked out of here or clocking.
Yeah, we got Jensen.
We
got Jensen in trouble last week, everybody.
We did a little bit. Got slapped on the wrist for clocking in literally 1 minute after my allotted time, even though I clock in 5 minutes early every other day of the week. Apparently that didn't matter. Anyway, I don't think. I mean, nothing will happen out of it, but it was just a little annoying that they brought it up to me. Anyways. If you're watching this, I don't know how I feel about y'all right now. Let's see if I just show up
flip
today.
them off. I don't know if we can do that in the first 5 minutes, so I don't know if I want to get us demonetized immediately.
No, it's all good. But no, I left my shoot job early yesterday. If you guys want a real shoot, I got a little frustrated, and I have an entire week of paid time off that I haven't used yet this year. I actually hadn't used any paid time off yet this entire year, and I realized we were halfway into August, and I was like, oh, okay, if I'm having any days where I'm just not feeling it, I'm just bailing. And yesterday I wasn't feeling it, so I bailed. Went to DMB's, baby. To DMB's. Got me this yo-yo for 300 tickets. And yeah.
300 tickets. How much is that, like, actual money?
Yeah, David Buster's, damn it.
It's like nothing. I mean, that's like the equivalent of like there's this game called I can't remember what it's called. It's like this it's like a dinosaur-based game, but really all you're doing is you're hitting a button, and they try to the arm like sweeps like pucks into like if they have like ticket mounts on them.
You're talking about
yeah, and I mean if you win that like one time, I mean you can hit for 250, you get for 500, that kind of stuff. So that's basically one win of one of those. But yeah, I did my thing, played a little baseball pro. Got the high score for the day on that and the bonus, and ran into a friend, Dre, who I hadn't seen in a long time, who frequents Dave & Buster's. He's actually one of those guys who like does Dave & Buster's full time, like just like goes Dave & Buster's to Dave & Buster's, loads up his power card.
Hold on, full time? Like this is like a legit job? Can you just?
I've never told you about that.
I feel like
there's an entire underworld. See, people aren't gonna want to hear about this. We got to get into the wrestling talk. It's gonna take too long. But there's an entire like underworld of like people who are really, really good at arcade games that like will spend an entire day going to like 3 or 4 different Dave & Buster's, and they'll get there before all the bonuses have like hit on the machines. So like they'll get there, they'll max out the machines. They'll put like $100 on a power card. max out the machines and get a ton of tickets and then cash out for like, you know, a Nintendo Switch or something and then flip that for profit.
I mean, I guess that's good work, good life if you can master it and get it all done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how feasible it is. I mean, obviously, I have not attempted the lifestyle. I know a couple people who do it, but I also don't know what their living situations are like. For all I know, they're urban camping in the parking lots of Dave and Buster's, you know, every night. I really don't get that far into their personal business, but they're good dudes. Like the way I discovered this whole thing was going down was a couple of years ago during the pandemic when I was going to Dave Buster's every Wednesday. So this will be a short story that we're going to get into wrestling. Basically what ended happening was I walked away from this machine that I was at all day. This basketball machine where you hit basically what looks like a basketball and it shoots a little basketball into a hoop and you basically, you know, and I was really, really good at that game. I decided to walk away for a second and there's two sides of the machine, like, so you can play against somebody else. I walked away from it for like a few minutes and then I came back. Both sides of the basketball machine were paying out the bonus. The clown game where you knock the clowns out with the ball, that was paying out a bonus. There's the game where you throw balls in like a milk jug. That thing was going off. There was like, and then the ball drop game where you hit a little red dot and it drops balls into buckets. And if you get all the balls in all the buckets, you get a payout. So it was like 5 machines were all paying out the bonus at the same time. And I had only been gone for like 5 minutes. So I started looking around for what happened. I was like, how did this happen? And I look and there's this dude on the clowns just knocking all of them over. And I walked up to the dude. I was like, dude, did you just set all these machines off? And he's like, yeah, bro. And I was like, and then I found out that he does it full time. He introduced me to some of the other guys he was there with that do it full time. And I was like, this is insane that there is actually like a hustle going on at arcades, you know, that people that can do this. So anyways, yeah, it goes deep. It goes deep.
Guys,
on the inside, baby.
Yeah, clearly. Guys, leave a thumbs up on the video. You can also leave a super chat, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done that. Subscribe to our sister channel, Fightful Overbooked, if you've not done that as well. All right, let's get into it. A lot to talk about. Let's start with
over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
It really goes to show how long we've been doing this show, that like this 1 million fan bumper is like 2 years old at this point. Yeah. The joke is like they can't crack 700, much less 1 million right now. But it's still been a great show. And they've been on a run of great shows as we lead up to AEW All In. Last night, AEW Dynamite headlined by Swerve Strickland against Wheeler Yuta, but really Swerve Strickland saying he's going to cripple Bryan Danielson. This came after they aired a video package with a career retrospective of Danielson. No WWE footage. Joel and I kind of speculated of maybe there might be some WWE footage or at least some pictures from independent photographers. Not even that. It was all straight independent and AEW clips and photos and highlights. Nothing from his WWE run, which, you know, if he's not really retiring, okay, I can kind of understand. I do think if he was actually retiring, which, you know, he might lose, he might be retiring, but he's probably going to win. He should win anyway. What'd you make of the whole closing segment here with the video package and then Swerve taking out Danielson and saying he's going to cripple him?
So I really liked the video package, and I was watching the show with my buddy Mike Hughes, and I said that same thing to him actually about the WWE footage. I was like, oh man, it would be nice if you get anything even from WrestleMania 30, just a clip of, you know, the crowd at WrestleMania 30 or something. We were both there. That was an amazing moment, an amazing show. I still wish Brock wouldn't beat the streak. That was such a weird for you in the building. Like I remember when that happened, I walked into like the general area, like right after there was like a women's tag match or something afterwards that I don't even remember happening, because like I just remember like walking away after the Brock and Taker match and then just like making eye contact with strangers and like in like the hall for like, for minutes. We were just like, what the hell just happened? Anyways, a very, very memorable night. It would have been cool to have some Danielson WWE footage. I'm with you. I don't think that he's going to actually be retiring. I don't think he'd want to put I don't think he wants to pigeonhole himself like that. The guy was literally forced into retirement for years out of his prime. And if he feels like he wants to years from now, even if he doesn't feel like it right now, who's to say years from now he doesn't want to do some indies, do another AEW show, do a one-off WWE match or something. So I don't think he wants to do that to himself. So I expect him to win it all in.
Real quickly on the footage stuff. I do want to kind of make clear of like, we don't know if they asked WWE. We don't know if WWE made any type of offer. I'm not going to put this solely on like, oh, look at WWE. They didn't give the footage. For all we know, Tony Khan didn't ask. Bryan Danielson didn't ask. They didn't even want to broach that. And so, of course, there was no footage if there was no ask for that. We just don't know.
True. Yeah. And I'm not speculating one way or another. There wasn't any footage. So it was what it was. I feel like, now this is completely hypothetical, but there are certain people that I feel like WWE probably would be willing to have that conversation about. And I feel like Danielson probably would be one that they would consider. Like, they have a really good relationship with him. Like, he didn't burn bridges with that company. We've seen little things, even like Chris Jericho being under AEW contract and doing Steve Austin's podcast on WWE Network.
We saw Jericho and Danielson appear on WWE TV when they were with AEW for John Cena's 25th anniversary.
Right, for sure. So,
but that benefited WWE. That was, you're on WWE television.
I just feel like, once again, it's just speculation. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But I think that I would like to believe like Danielson is a guy that they might be like, yeah, we have some pictures of like a clip you can use. Like, it's for Danielson, and it's not to benefit AEW, it's to benefit Bryan Danielson in their mind, But anyways, regardless, I thought the video package was done really, really well. The match I actually really enjoyed between Wheeler, Yuta, and Swerve. I mean, it was mainly all Swerve, but I liked that. I liked that Swerve basically like technically out wrestled at most of the match. Like, Wheeler Yuta's whole thing is pure wrestling and the Blackpool Combat Club and what he's learned from them over the years. And Swerve was kind of taking him to school when it came to like the chain wrestling and stuff. And I thought that was really smart because he's heading into this match with Bryan Danielson where he's going to be expected to be able to hang with his chain wrestling. And he proved like we can pretty much out wrestle one of his pupils. Let's see how he does against the master at All In. So I like the actual match between the two. I love the finish between Yuta and Swerve as well. I wish they wouldn't have panned in so close on the punches at the end, the ground and pound, because similar to the famous situation with Dark Order back in the day. Yeah, it was kind of like that. But I'm not expecting him to actually punch these guys in the face. I'm just expecting the camera not to make it so obvious. But the actual finish of the match, I liked how he hit him with the 3 house calls, and then he stomped his head in Danielson style, and then he just did a full mount and just ground and pounded until the referee stopped it. So, and then Swerve cut a 100% heel promo on his way out of there, talking about how he's going to cripple Danielson and end his career in front of his kid. But he's still very over as a babyface. He did the Who's House and the whole place, Swerve's house. Yeah, I mean, once again, it's strange because there is gonna be a portion of the audience that's going to want Swerve to win. And maybe he's not gonna get like out cheered by Danielson. Like, I think Danielson's gonna be the baby face. People are gonna want to see him win, want to see him save his career, don't want to see him retire. But like, there is a likability still to. Well, I've always seen him as a heel, but I understand why people like him because I do like him obviously, but I wish he wasn't meant to get a fan. It's just weird because the way that they really did it on television was he was a heel and then like he kept being a heel, but then the company like really they turned him babyface without turning him babyface, but they had him wrestling heels and had him looking like a babyface kind of, and also with the Ospreay stuff. It's been strange, but at the end of the day, we're going to get a great match between Danielson and Swerve. I'm excited for it. I think Danielson's going to win, but I got to give Swerve all the credit in the world. Like, regardless of how confusing sometimes it can be, like the whole heel face dynamic or whatever, I think he's done a really damn good job for like what he's been able to do with the championship. He has really, really good matches consistently. So like, I really can't say a bad thing about either guy. I just kind of, I guess at the end of the day, I kind of wish Danielson wasn't going against a guy in this situation that like there is going to be a portion of the crowd that wants Swerve to win. And I feel like we should be in a situation where everyone wants Danielson to win, if that makes sense.
Shutdown Spurs leave this super chat. It says AEW and Danielson have done a really good job of placing a seed of doubt in my brain that this might be it. I mean, that is, what Bryan Danielson is great at. Honestly, he's great at making you believe that he is injured or he's going to retire or that he shouldn't be champion, whatever it might be. It's a Danielson in a world, in a wrestling landscape where believability is tough because everyone talks about everything. Bryan Danielson does a really good job when it comes to that. With Swerve and the heel and face, we've talked about these dynamics before. I think Swerve has always been the heel. I think where it becomes muddy was the Christian stuff. Chi-Town Spurs mentions the Christian feud, and like, yeah, he was full on babyface during that. Still did the sort of heel revenge tactics when it came to Christian. Otherwise, he's been facing heel, or he's been facing babyface. Will Ospreay was a full on babyface. Bryan Danielson is a babyface. I guess Ospreay was kind of sort of a heel because he was aligned with Don Callis, but no one really wanted to boo him. This is a conversation we've had before. We don't need to rehash it. I don't think the Swerve heel and face dynamic is that big of an issue. I think it becomes muddy because of the rest of the card is such an issue. Like, you can pull it off with Swerve, but I was thinking about this when Mercedes was wrestling Sheeta. I'm like, well, this is basically two heels, but they're also getting a bunch of cheers throughout the match. And it's just, that's where it becomes, and then you got the Acclaimed and FTR, and it's like, okay, both these teams, I don't really feel a rooting interest for either of them, but then they're facing the Young Bucks, who are the most dastardly team in really the entire AEW, because they took out Tony Khan, but they're not really present. This is so much a Swerve conversation. I think it hurts Swerve because the rest of the card isn't as defined as it should be. Again, we've had this conversation before. We're not going to go back into it. As far as this segment goes, I think they've done a great job. I think they've done a great job of making you believe that Danielson might lose, making you believe that Swerve is going to end his career, really just selling this match. And I never thought that was going to be an issue. I know a lot of people were like, oh, how are they going to build this up when everybody wants Hangman and Swerve? It's Bryan Danielson. I ain't worried about what they're going to do. And obviously putting his career on the line is an easy way to sell this thing. But they've done a great job. We're a week away from All In, a week from Sunday away from All In. And look, I'm looking forward to the match. Could they have gone in another direction? Yes. Will they get to that direction at some point? Probably. But I think Swerve and Danielson for right now it's the hottest thing they have.
Yeah, it's working out. I mean, you mentioned it. We have the whole Hangman and Swerve thing lurking, which that's definitely, we're going to come back to that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hangman even played a role in the finish potentially of the main event of All In. I mean, they're not letting us forget that is going to be happening, whether it's for the title or not at some time soon. And also that seed of doubt, I feel like that video package helped with that too, because it was very much like an end of your career video package. Like, so, but I also think that that's really smart to do that, to make people feel like, oh man, this is it. Like, we're getting the video package. But then he wins. But then, I mean, then it's going to be a whole other conversation after that, which we'll talk about when the time comes. But doesn't Danielson need like neck surgery and stuff? So like
that's what he says. Again,
that's what he says. Right. True.
Bryan Danielson loves to lie. I'm still pretty sure I still have. Here we go. There you go. Loves the
Cody
lie.
Rhodes taught me lying is fun. Yeah. That's, I mean, you learn from the best. But I mean, that's whether he needs neck surgery or not, though, it'll be really interesting to see what he does with the championship. Because I think none of us, including Danielson, probably want him to win and then vacate and have like a tournament or something. He probably wants to lose on his way out to whoever the next champion is going to be, whether it's Swerve, Hangman, probably one of those two guys, I would guess. But how long does that last? And is it going to be some sort of like Ric Flair type, next time I lose, I'm done type thing when he's the champion or something, which actually would be pretty cool. I think that actually worked really well for him if he did like a retirement stip on his title reign. But we'll talk about that when the time comes.
I don't think he won. I mean, he said it himself. Like, I don't think he wants to actually fully retire. He wants to keep just wrestling, even if it's one-off matches a year and things like that. So I don't think we're
right. You wouldn't need to do the stipulation because he would just go away for a while and come back whenever he felt like was a good. No, you're right. Yeah. You wouldn't. I'll actually retract what I just said because I think that would be a bad idea. We don't need this. We don't need the retirement stipulation because we're hoping he is going to come back for one-offs anyway. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do the retirement stipulation past this. I think he's going to win, and he's going to defend it a handful of times. I don't think it's going to be a long reign. I think he's going to get his moments, and then he's going to defend it, and he's going to lose it, and then he'll just kind of go away. Everyone will know he's wrapping up full time, and then he'll come back whenever he needs to come back to do kind of cool one-off matches, and that'll sort of be that for Bryan Danielson. That's what I see how this goes anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be a great match. I have no doubt about that. It's in my opinion, the greatest professional wrestler of all time. And it's Swerve Strickland, who's on a great run right now. And I think he's been very good as a champion. I know people want to knock certain things, but I think they've done a very good job with the presentation and even with the feuds that he's had. Like, all of his feuds have gotten over. All the matches have been very good. I can't knock like some of the stuff, mainly the first appearance where he went 50-50 with Kyle Fletcher, could have done without that. But really ever since then, everything has been upwards for Swerve Strickland. So yeah. I think it's going to be fantastic.
He comes off like a major star. Like he looks, feels the vibe, everything about. I hate this word aura that everyone's using now to describe stuff. I mean, the word's been around forever, but everyone's using it now. But his aura, like it actually, like they've done a great job. It's credit to everybody involved, AEW, Swerve, everyone. But like, it's just think about how. I mean, Killshot was awesome at Lucha Underground, but it was a totally different gimmick. And then like he had some great runs on the indies. But like, as far as like mainstream, Swerve was relegated to like 205 Live, and then like the stuff that he did with his group was super short-lived with Hit Row. And like when we came to AEW, it was like, all right, this is going to be it. This is going to be his time to like really break out. And then it felt like it took a while because it was like the stuff with Keith Lee and all this. And everyone was like, damn, like, is he gonna? And I feel like he actually had the opportunity. We actually are watching him reach his potential. Like, so it's cool to see somebody who has been around for a long time that just kept grinding and kept getting better. And like, when the time was right, the opportunity was there. He knocked it out of the park, and that's what he's doing. So I got massive respect for Swerve, and the way he's being presented, and the way that he's carrying himself, and the way he looks as the AEW champion.
Swerve has always been, and I said this a lot when he first joined the company, Swerve is a good representative to have because he wants to go out there and he wants to do different things. He just released an album last week with Garments, and he's got the Big Pressure Trill mix with Bun B and West Side Gun. He obviously crossed over with the hip hop world, but when he first signed with the company, he did so much media. And that's one thing I think a lot of people in AEW lack is like their willingness to go out there and just do media, go to different outlets and everything. Like Swerve was not shy about doing that stuff at all. And that's continued as a champion. I think he's done less as a champion just because he's probably just busier overall, but he still goes out there and does a bunch of media and promotes the brand. And you need as many guys like that as possible on your roster. And Swerve, I do think part of that, I mean, there's a reason why most of the people doing media for AEW come from WWE. I think that's very instilled when it comes to WWE. And that's the reason why WWE gets as big as they get, because they instill that. And people who maybe aren't even that willing to do a lot of media. Like, I don't think people look at Gunther and are like, yeah, this is a guy that's going to do a bunch of media. And yet they're like, no, Gunther, go out there, do media. And he does. And he does a great job. He carries himself in a great way with that. And get that. Adam Copeland does a bunch of media, not so much now. Swerve Danielson always does a bunch of media. I think Darby is an AEW like kind of homegrown who has really understood, hey, you got to go out there and kind of do media. And if you look at the guys who do a lot of media for AEW who are not from WWE, they're Cody guys. And I think they learned that kind of from Cody of like, you got to go out there and you got to promote.
Yep. Yeah,
I'll put over Cody for you.
I agree. I know. Cody's kids are out there in the wrestling world, and they conduct themselves different, man. It isn't. I mean, I've heard people talk about this. Like, I think I heard QT Marshall talk about it like really recently about how even in wrestling nowadays, a lot of people like there's less like handshaking and stuff going on in like locker rooms.
Yeah, it was QT.
And and he was talking about how that's something where like Cody, when Cody trains kids, like it's the old school mentality of treating everybody like your favorite wrestler of all time, and like it's just I'm not saying that other people don't do it the right way, but I think it's proven that a lot of these kids that break in under Cody, they're they have good careers, and I'm sure there's a fraternity aspect to it also, right? Like you have you have a foot in the door, like you have someone you can call and could potentially help you out and stuff like that. That's awesome to have. But they're also learning like really important stuff really early, and like it's basic stuff. I mean, they talked about it on the podcast that I had heard this on, but I mean, it's like, even when I go into the office, like if I have to go into the office for my shoot job, like I shake hands with my boss and stuff. Like it's just common courtesy when you're an adult. So it's like, it's one of those things where there are little things, and you even see someone like Jade Cargill and Ricky Starks are like really good friends in real life, and they're both Cody kids to a degree. Ricky was around for a while before, but he's good friends with Cody. You can kind of see their circle, like some of the people that were with Cody and AEW, they all have seemed to stick together kind of behind the scenes also, and you know what I mean? So it's like there's something to that, and I think that's good.
They mentioned the podcast QT Marshall was on. By the way, it was Conan's podcast. Do you listen to Conan's podcast?
I get the clips. I don't listen to the full shows, but I get that's part of like the I'll get like the clips of like I'll get him, I'll get Chris Van Vliet, I'll get just the Saul Monster. It just like it'll go through clips of like kind of everyone that's on my Cornette even. I mean, everyone on my algorithm. I'll get like the 2, 3, 5 minute clips, and that's why I couldn't remember which one it was on. But yeah, I got you.
So what they were talking about is QT Marshall was saying like the advice he got was, who's your favorite wrestler? He's like Roddy Piper. He said, treat everybody like they're Roddy Piper. No matter who they are, treat them like they're Roddy Piper. And because you don't know who is going to ascend to the top of the card at some point. But they're going to remember that, oh, this person treated me like I was a big deal when I was nobody. And that's going to come back around to you. And that's what QT was talking about when it comes to just respect level. And that's something that Cody instills in, basically all of his trainees. Treat everybody like they're your favorite wrestler. And then because you never know how it's gonna pay off. Do you have an important message? Is your boss watching? Is he gonna fire you?
No, we're gonna have somebody pop in a second.
Oh, okay.
Just real quick, it's gonna be about 30 seconds, I think. I gotta get the link. I was gonna do it as a surprise, but I can't surprise you because you saw me on my invite link.
I'm very scared. It's not Cole Radrick, is it? Okay, it's Cole Radrick.
It's Cole Radrick. That's so funny. It's like, hey Cole, if you're watching, you hope it wasn't you. Hey, there's somebody. If this is true, Hedgehog. For one, I love the screen name, and I'm a big Sonic guy. The first video game I ever played was Sonic Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. If you're actually from Japan, that is awesome. That's one of the coolest things of all time. If we have fans that are over in Japan, or I don't like calling people or fans, people who we have any viewers over there in Japan. That is,
we're all friends.
That is We are all friends. Dude, I'm just a wrestling fan who got super lucky to be able to talk about wrestling here. Like I'm one of y'all. Cole said to give me 4 or 5. Come on, man. Well, anyway, let's move on to the next topic, and then we'll bring Cole on for just a second.
AEW tag team titles, they were maybe supposed to be figured out last night, but they weren't because the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed went to a DQ when FTR interfered, and now we will get FTR against the Acclaimed on Collision. The winners, if there is a winner, will face the Young Bucks at AEW All In. And to kind of piggyback off of this, the Lucha Bros are reportedly leaving AEW. So sort of a state of the tag team division right now. What are your thoughts on it, Jensen?
I'm with you in what you said earlier about how it felt like you don't have like a huge, like really draw for this, like the FTR versus Acclaimed type stuff. Like neither team.
I don't like any of these teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would agree. I mean, the thing is, in the ring, I can't speak for you, but I mean, I think the Young Bucks are like one of the best in-ring teams, literally in the history of wrestling.
I want Billy Gunn. I want Billy Gunn to just pin everybody, all 6 of them.
Yeah, you've brought up these types of things for Billy Gunn before. I think you said you wanted him to like win the AEW World Title one time, and I didn't even sell you saying it because I'm so used to you saying stuff like that. I just like accepted it as something you actually want happening.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that there's like some stakes to this match that's about to happen between FTR and the Acclaimed, and the winners are supposed to wrestle the Young Bucks at All In, but I'm assuming it'll probably be some sort of non-finish and it'll be a triple threat match because I don't think that they're going to leave any of these teams off of the show. So that's my prediction, is it's going to be a triple threat. And also when it comes to the Lucha Bros.
Yeah, I think they're...
Oh, sorry, you froze for a second. I was going to say for the Lucha Bros, if they go to the WWE, they're going to be humongous stars there. Like WWE is going to market the hell out of their masks and promote Rey Fenix as like one of the next Rey Mysterio type guys. And they're going to have a sick tag team run. Pentagon will probably hit, if they can get Pentagon to tap into kind of more of what he was like in Lucha Underground, both those guys as a tag team and as singles guys, even though they've been around a while, like, if they could have a really solid like 3 to 5 year run, I think, in the WWE like right now and be massively over and massive merch sellers. Like I really think that both those guys are super, super, super marketable in that WWE machine. So I think it's smart if they go there.
I think we're going to see a draw between the Acclaimed and FTR on Saturday. I think that's how they're going to set up this triple threat match. Maybe they go the Young Bucks interfere routes and then it becomes but they just kind of did that with Christian and then go into a double count outs, and I assume it'll be a 3-way for the 6-man tag team titles or the trio titles at All In as well. So that's why I think they're going to go a draw, just a different way instead of doing a DQ or that type of interference spot, since they just did that. So my guess is a draw for the Acclaimed and FTR on Saturday, and then it becomes a 3-way tag team match at All In. And when it comes to the Lucha Bros, they'll do good in WWE as long as obviously WWE, depending on how much they get behind them, because I thought Dragon Lee was almost next up in that. And Dragon Lee has kind of, I don't know if he's having visa issues or anything right now. He hasn't been on for a little while. So it could be something as simple as that. I'm not sure. But they've he was doing well at NXT main roster. They just kind of put him with LWO, and then he hasn't really been on there. The Lucha Bros they'll be as good as, say, however far WWE is going to push them and feature them. WWE's tag team division, they're featured, but there's not a whole lot that goes into a lot of it. Like it's basically background fodder stuff for the most part. There's no real, you're going to get concrete stories there.
Yeah. I mark my words on this before we bring in Cole. I'll make some predictions here. The Lucha Bros, the WWE, if they go there, they will get massively behind them. They will get massively over. They will be the tag team champions on one of the brands within within, I'll say, as soon as 4 months of debuting, they'll be one of the tag team champions. And I think both guys will have singles matches at WrestleMania before their runs are up. And I think Pentagon will have a high profile singles match at WrestleMania. Maybe not for like a world championship, but I think Penta's going to be huge there. I really do. Let's bring in our guest for a few minutes. The Ratty Daddy. Hey, the guest antagonist. What's up, Cole? It's Stephen Jensen here, along with Jeremy Lambert. Cole, the holder of the GCW brass ring. Man, it's good to see you. I hate that you're injured right now. This would be a really opportune time for you to slide in there and get that championship. But
man, yeah, it really sucks, pal. Trust me. Yeah, man. It couldn't have came at a worse time. It sucks. It really sucks. I miss doing what I love. Miss just going out there and seeing people and seeing people happy, seeing people excited. It's hard not feeling in better or worse terms like alive anymore. It feels like I'm dead, you know.
Bro, you're in our thoughts, bro. Like we're like, even when I'm doing my podcast, like when I'm doing the GCW reviews and stuff, I'm still mentioning like when Cole comes back, he's got the brass ring. Like we'll get right back to where we were at. Like I feel for you, dude. But like
I don't think we're gonna get back to right where we were at. I think we're going way past where we were going.
Let's go.
We're about to take the fucking ball and we're about to run that motherfucker home. I promise you that much.
Let's go.
Sitting on the sideline, it's just pissed me off, honestly. Like. There's a special connection that I have with me and my people, me and the crowd, and I feel like that's gotten ripped away from me. And I feel like going out there and seeing those people, not only did they feel excited, it's what made me feel excited. It's what made me love wrestling, and I don't have that right now. And it sucks. It's a very empty feeling. It's literally the worst thing. I've just secluded myself from all forms of like life. Like this is like the first like anything talking I've done since any of it. But I just I saw you guys were on. I wanted to hop in. I think maybe it would have been good for my own mental and, just to see how ready Jeremy is here for the Smitty, seeing if he's still staying prepared.
Well,
but I just, I'm really, really, really heartbroken more than anything, but I am counting the days and motherfuckers are going to be put on notice the second I get back. I promise you that much.
Do you have a timeline? Do you know like a good idea of when?
We had an idea, and what sucks is what people saw online was the fracture, but they didn't see the stuff from the MRI or the muscles. Long story short, I actually broke my leg back in June, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought I sprained it. I had kind of like a week off. And then the next show I had was GCW Texas, and wrestled. Everything seemed okay. I tried to work around it. And then eventually we came up to the 3-day weekend. That was Louisville, that was St. Louis, that was Indy. And then come Monday, I couldn't really walk, couldn't really move, and went to the ER to figure out why the sprain is hurting as bad as it was, and figured out that I had been wrestling with a broken leg for a better part of a month. And so my muscles on my legs were overcompensating. And so now that's all out of sync. So it's a long process. It sucks because I can't look at you and be like, oh, this is within the month range I want to get back, because at this point, who fucking knows? But I'm telling you, Steven, I'm telling you, Jeremy, I'm pissed as a motherfucker. And when I get back, it's fucking on, man. I'm counting, bro. And yeah, it's yeah.
Well, Cole, it's good to see you. I appreciate you joining us. We're gonna reach out, get you on In the Weeds at some point in the next week, because the Smitty is a week from tomorrow, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't know how I feel about you being angry, because I feel like you might take that out on me, and I don't know about all of that, but
you never know, buddy. You never know.
No, it's good to see you, and like I hope things continue to go well. How is the Smitty coming with everything? Because I know it's been a lot these past couple of weeks.
There's been a lot with these past couple weeks, man. There's a lot of shit that's being shaken up and shit. But at the same time, we have a great cast. We have a great group of wrestlers. We have great referees. We have great commentary. We have a great film. It's going to be great. I have put a team around myself where everybody is a fucking hitter. There's no misses. There's no nothing. So it feels great to know that I have a crew that is going to knock it out of the park and kill it, even if I fuck up everything. As long as I get a ring and an entranceway and some music there, I know they do their job. But trust me, it's not just that. It's a whole spectacle. It's not a pro wrestling show. It is a pro wrestling experience. We got SpongeBob. We got Patrick, Man Ray, maybe Mermaid Man, maybe Barnacle Boy. There's a lot of things going on in this show. And there's also potential to be tables. And I believe Jeremy's going to be there.
Yeah. Man, Jeremy threw a table. I would love to see that. The date on the Schmitty.
We got to stop pushing this agenda.
August 20th. I was about to plug the date, then Jeremy said, but yeah, August 23rd. Now, Cole, if you want to join us on August 29th to recap that Schmitty, we can have you on live. I don't have we have time restrictions on most Thursdays because I have to log in for my shoot job at 10, but we can go live on the 29th, August 29th. I don't have any, I'm taking the day off work. So if you want to come on and do like a full on like recap, we can talk.
Let's
everything.
do it.
Hell yeah.
Cole's going to have to be the co-host for that show because the way everybody's talking, I'm going to be
for your memoriam show.
We could do a eulogy for Jeremy. Yeah.
This is upsetting.
I didn't want to interrupt for too long. I wanted to hop in, say what's up.
No, you're always welcome here.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Be around and not shut myself completely off. But just want to say I love y'all. Appreciate you, Jeremy. I'm so excited to see you in a week in real life.
I'm excited to see you too.
In real life, motherfucker.
Yes. I'm going to give you a big hug, and then I don't know how close I'm going to get to you after that because I feel like you're going to still be able to suplex me.
There's plenty of fun to be had, so I'm very much excited for it. I appreciate everybody, and I hope everybody has a blessed day.
Yeah, good seeing you, man. Love you, bro.
Thank you, Cole.
Love you guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cole.
Yep.
Oh, it was great seeing Cole. Legit one of my favorites. I don't like to play favorites, but Cole's legit one of my favorites.
I'll play favorites. I don't care. Everyone knows Cole's a pal. Like, we're not spilling any dark secrets here that Cole is a friend. He's been on this show, I think, more than anybody outside of probably Mose. We've had on a bunch, but Cole's been a multi-time guest. He's been on In the Weeds so much because he just pops on and antagonizes me. Like you said, he's a guest antagonizing guest. Oh yeah, he's been on In the Weeds plenty. He'll probably be on in the Weeds next week to continue to promote the Schmitty. I'm glad he was here. I've reached out and I understand he doesn't want to fully shut himself off and everything. So I know he's dealing with a lot, not only the injury, but putting together a show is a stressful time in and of itself. So I can only imagine what he's going through with everything. So it's good to see him. It was good to hear from him. And I think he's going to kill me next week, so that's unfortunate.
I can't wait to see him kill everybody, man. Yeah, you're in for it for sure. I feel like you might be playing one of those characters you just mentioned.
I want to. I told him like whatever he needs, I'm down for. But then whatever he needs turned into I'm going through a table, and I don't know.
Awesome.
No, it's not. No, stop this.
What about a door? You'd go through a door, like a door bridge.
Why is a door any better than a table?
There's less risk, I think, in the door. There's less, metal and stuff underneath it and whatnot. It's a little bit, it's more likely to break, I think. But hey, you got this, man. And for everyone, as I just mentioned, I'm taking off work in 2 Thursdays from now. So we'll have Cole on live. I can go as long as we need to that day. So even if Jeremy had to bounce for any reason, I can hang out pretty much as long as we need to, and might have multiple guests possibly on Thursday morning. So I'm looking forward to that. But we need to get back on track. But Cole, thank you very much, bro, for joining us. If you're watching this still, Cole Radrick's the man. When we started this show, over 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years? I don't even remember. I think it was like February of 2022, maybe we started the show, something like that.
Yeah.
Cole was one of the first indie guys that we got on the show, and And I mean, that's led to us interviewing what feels like hundreds at this point. I mean, Cole's. I owe a lot to Cole as a fan too. He's also one of those guys when I go to live GCW events and stuff, he's always willing to give me some audio interviews and stuff. Like, so it doesn't feel like I wasted my time if I don't get to talk to anybody for Fightful. You know, Cole's as close to family as I got as far as like wrestlers out there. So appreciate you, Cole.
We do love Cole, except next week. I'm like Friday. I don't think I'm gonna like him too much.
Let's move on. We got WWE. We got
sorry. I was sending a message to Cole. So
okay.
All right. I will hit the WWE bumper here in a second.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Cody Rhodes' next story is going to be against Kevin Owens. They're going to clash at Bash in Berlin. It's going to be a face versus face dynamic. Cody Rhodes was like, I want to give you the title shot. Kevin Owens is like, I'm a giant ass loser. So no, I don't want this title shot. And Nick Aldis said, all right, well, we're going to give the match to Roman. Because Roman, look at his track record. He's champion for over 1,300 days. He deserves this. Kevin was like, well, even though he wins all the time, I don't like the way he wins. So he doesn't deserve this title shot either. Who should get this title shot, Jensen? Kevin Owens is making a case for nobody.
I don't understand. I mean, I know it's heading somewhere, and I'm not naive enough to think that there's like no plan for this, and I think it probably will eventually work out okay. But that came off super strange to me when Cody offered up Owens a title shot, and Owens was like, no, I don't deserve it. Like, I'm not. And the fans were like, what? Like, they started like chanting for him, and like Cody was chanting for him, and it's like, that's a weird, because like Kevin Owens being the prize fighter and all that stuff, I know he's evolved in his character over the years and stuff. Like, but when I think of Kevin Owens, there's still a part of me, and maybe this is what they're probably ultimately trying to tap into eventually. And by the time he fights Cody, like the Kevin, we're never gonna get like the Kevin Steen back that we knew, probably like the dude who was, ripping El Generico's head off and, that kind of stuff. But we need something closer to that, I feel like, at the moment. Like, I'll put it this way. As somebody who has been a Kevin Owens fan since his indie days, it was jarring for me to hear him be like, I don't deserve this. It's like, bro, you're Kevin. Like, even if you've lost your last 10 matches in a row, I wouldn't care. You're still Kevin Owens. Like, because I know him and Cody's going to deliver. And I know that they have history. And I know that Dusty and Owens had history. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you could sell me on that without any win-loss records for all I care. So it was just weird hearing Owens like saying he didn't want it.
I liked that he used the win-loss record of like, no, look at my record. Like, it's not that good. There are more deserving people on this. Where it kind of lost me a little was the when Nick Aldis is like, well, I'm going to give it to Roman Reigns. His win-loss record's great. And then Kevin's like, okay, his win-loss record's great, but I don't like the way he won. So never mind. He didn't deserve this either. It's like, who do you want to get this title shot? Kevin should have just picked who we wanted to get the title shot. It should have been like, you know what? LA Knight's got a good win-loss record. Give it to him. Give him the match.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that because LA Knight would out-pop Cody, and so they couldn't do that.
Get out of here. But LA Knight is getting good reactions. He definitely is. I'm going to give him his credit. As a matter of fact, I don't have any of his signed trading cards yet, but I have gone in on his name on some breaks lately. I'm trying to get some cool LA Knight stuff to add to the collection. So he's gained my respect. I've always respected the guy. Huh?
I saw an LA Knight shirt out and about the other day around town. A lot of wrestling shirts around town. I told you about the one, the kid wearing the Cody shirt. I had to. You said he's going to grow up to be like a good role model, and like Cody teaches people how to lie. Is that the role model you really want?
It's a valuable skill in the real world. I think that.
Wow.
I think that Cody, if you're a little kid rocking a Cody shirt right now, you're probably, gonna have a successful life, and you've already learned to do the work, and
I walked up to that kid. I walked up to that kid with my 12 kids, and I threw the 1-up, and I made all the kids throw the 1-up in front of this kid as well. And I told him, acknowledge me. And
I already had the visual of you doing it. That was enough. But you plus your whole family doing it together, that would just really be the ultimate, like, what's wrong with these people?
That kid just bowed his head in shame. He just bowed his head. He's like, all right.
You're lucky you didn't hit you with the crossroads, bro. I don't know how big this kid was, but
that move sucks. It doesn't beat anybody.
It beat Roman. But that was awesome when Roman said that to Cody at WrestleMania. Like that really, yeah. And now we got the superpowers, the mega powers. I'm sorry, the mega powers of Cody.
Yeah,
and Roman.
Cody Rhodes, the third babyface on SmackDown. How do you feel about that?
Oh, obviously, I don't see it that way. But behind who? Behind Roman and LA Knight? Yeah. Yeah. I can see that there's a debate between Roman and Cody, but Cody is their guy.
There's not a debate between Roman and Cody.
It's Cody. It's Cody.
Man,
all right, we can
close.
we can move on to the next interview topic.
Close.
As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys want to see it. It wouldn't even fit on the screen. Yesterday I was gifted it actually was gifted. It sounds like I'm capping when I say stuff like that, but my buddy Hughes, I'm always talking about, like, he's a big action figure collector and memorabilia collector and stuff also, and he comes over for most AEW shows, and like we'll randomly just like see something that we know the other guy would like, and we're constantly just like giving each other wrestling stuff. He gave me a life-size cardboard cutout of Cody Rhodes yesterday. It's in my
oh my gosh,
yeah, looks just like him. It's like having him around. It's great. Now, if we just get him on the show, Cody, if you ever see this or hear this, please, one day.
Do you like talk to him? Do you like put your arm around him and like console him after, Roman Reigns returns? It's gonna be okay, Cody. You're still the guy. You're still a babyface. You're still the champion. Don't worry about Roman. Roman's doing stuff with Bloodline. You're the champ. Remember that. You're staying late after the shows. You got the bus. You got the Wheatley vodka that you drink neatly. Wrestling has more than one royal family. Whoa! Do you like do all that?
No, I sing him the. Have you heard the parody song online? The Cody Raheem Rhodes parody song. Oh, it's so funny. It's a little like kind of, some of the stuff is a little, but it's very. I think it's funny because it's a song based on the idea of Cody, saving racism ends, Cody, like right, the meme, and so it's Cody. That Cody Raheem Rhodes is like the name that they've given him, which I just think. Anyway, the song is very. I think it's funny. It randomly blew up on my algorithm on YouTube, but the joke was, I go around my room singing songs of Cody at the cardboard cutout. So yeah,
I don't feel like you sing songs. I feel like you talk to him and just
deep conversation.
Give them pep talks. Like, don't worry about AEW. You don't need to worry about that. What they're saying online about you, it's all out of context. It's all clickbait. Don't worry about that. Keep focusing on the goal. Keep focusing on being the champion. Keep focusing on being undisputed and undeniable.
Yes. Yeah.
You're like Draymond Green in his ear. Just like, let's see.
Yeah, I'm willing everything into existence. Man, you got to keep the championship, bro. We have to keep being the champion. I've been the champion since April, and we got to keep this going. Brutalities. Cody is working the grill at the cookout. Exactly. That's the gist of the song that I was referencing. Yeah, Stephen would fangirl so hard. I absolutely. I have to interview and just be like, dude, you're so cool. just glazing him the entire time. Anyway, what's the next topic?
Cody and Kevin. Do you have any other thoughts on this? And
no, I think it'll be a good match, but I think it's gonna something's up, right? Like this thing's gonna evolve with Kevin, where he'll either turn or snap. Like something will happen to make me interested, and he's going to eventually accept the title shot. I feel like there's just no way they're gonna do that.
Well, he's already accepted it. It's already a match. It's already.
Oh, right. Sorry. Well, let me backtrack. They are having the match, but I think that Owens, I don't know if it'll be like just like a friendly one-on-one, like, buddy match by the time it actually happens, is what I mean.
How do you feel that Cody has not been able to build up like any credible heels to challenge him?
What?
Well, they have to go with a babyface challenger because Cody hasn't, put over any great heels as credible to challenge him.
Okay, well, obviously the bloodline is like multiple people deep, and he was a big part of that story, and there's plenty of them still to go. I think that I don't know when they were planning to do Jacob Fatu. I don't know like the legitimacy of how injured he actually is, but I think that's incredibly ironic in like the weirdest way that like if he actually got injured off of that spot that he was supposed to be selling an injury, that's nuts. Don't know if that's legitimate or not, but like there are heels in the bloodline still that Cody can kind of go through. There's a match with Roman eventually again too, probably, even if they're both baby faces.
He doesn't want that match.
I don't want it either.
You don't want Cody to have that match.
And like George says, it's not his fault. It isn't Cody's fault. If that's the WWE's fault if they don't like Cody's massively over as a babyface. So they need to work on getting heels ready for him.
He needs to be able to elevate people up to his level. That's what Roman did as the champion.
But he's got to in the ring with them, and these people got to get feuds with him. He can't just like pull someone out of thin air and be like, "You're the next heel challenger." Like they got anyone.
That's what a great champion does. That's what Roman Reigns did.
Well, what I'm saying is the company. I think anyone that the company puts in the ring with Cody right now, Cody will make it work. They just have to choose people who are, who's the next people up that could be great heels on these shows. But he also has Randy Orton will eventually turn heel, and he has a long history with him, and there's stuff cooking in the background for heels for him. I'm not worried about that.
I don't know. I'd be a little concerned if I was you that they can't. That he can't elevate any heel to his level. They'd do multiple matches with AJ Styles because he couldn't get anybody else to that level.
Those matches were sick.
I mean, they were good. Cody needed help to win. Didn't main event.
That's true. He did not main event. You can stop trolling me now. What's the next WWE topic?
I don't even know if we had anything.
I don't remember. Was there anything else? Hold on, let me look at.
It's mainly Kevin and Cody. I mean, we can talk about other WWE stuff. You don't watch WWE. You've banished it outside of Cody Rhodes.
That's not true. I enjoy the WWE product nowadays. I don't watch it all. I mean, I actually tried to watch Raw on Monday, but it was a different show was airing, and I was like, "Is this my Xfinity?"
Yeah, that was. We had that as well. Like on the USA app, 911 was airing, and then apparently you had to go like the sports section, and you could get to it. So we eventually figured that out. But
bro, I felt like I tried everything. I was going to like sci-fi and everything. I was like, "Where is this?" And it even said Monday Night Raw on the actual.
Yeah, it did.
Sticker.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the other topics. We can circle back around to more WWE if we need to, but there's a big other spotlight that I really wanted to talk about also.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to go to that or the indies first, but either way, we'll come, if we have time left, we'll come back to some other stuff.
Okay. We'll go to the other spotlight because I want to make sure we get this in.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Sadly, in the world of wrestling, we lost Kevin Sullivan last week. Fans may know it was August 9th that he passed away. Fans may know Kevin Sullivan through a variety of things. My personal sort of introduction to him was the Taskmaster, easy for me to say, in WCW and kind of leading that stable, the Dungeon of Doom. But Kevin Sullivan, along with being part of WCW during that time, also worked for ECW, also worked for Smoky Mountain, Crockett, worked a lot of the indies, and along with being a television character, was also part of booking, especially in the WCW time. But I know you had a lot to say about Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah. So first off, obviously rest in peace to the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan. When I got into wrestling, we talk about all the time. Me and Jeremy are in our mid-30s. When we got into wrestling, I mean, I was like 6 years old. So this was early 90s WCW. And I was a WCW kid. I did not watch the WWE until later. And excuse me. And it's Kevin Sullivan. It sounds weird and corny to people who weren't the age or weren't around at the time because of how poorly the Dungeon of Doom, Three Faces of Fear, Alliance to End Hulkamania, Unholy Alliance, whatever, all that stuff like has not aged well, and it's a lot of like, you know, it's not hot, like with Hogan with the water and stuff. Like there's a lot of like memeable stuff, but like at the time when I was a kid and I was watching that, that's actually what made me a wrestling fan. Like I became a pro wrestling fan because of the Dungeon of Doom Hulk Hogan story. I didn't know these guys as like WWE cast-offs that were joining this group. I didn't know about, you know, I'd seen Ric Flair a little bit, but he was like the older guy in like the green trunks at that point. I didn't know like the lore of Ric Flair. And I thought that like, I thought that the Taskmaster was the most evil villain. Like he was the top bad guy in wrestling history, as far as I was concerned. Because he was the first main villain I ever saw. And that tree of woe he would do, where he put you upside down, then run knee first into you. I was like, this is the coolest move. Like nobody does something like this that I'm watching, you know. My favorite wrestler immediately became Randy Savage, and a lot of that had to do with like him doing the top rope elbow drop and the regalia, like the way he dressed and the Slim Jim commercials and stuff. So there was characters I really started to latch on to and become huge fans of. And Kevin Sullivan was the main villain. It means a lot, honestly, for him as he means a lot, I should say, for me as a wrestling fan. Like, because if it wasn't for him, I legitimately don't know back in 1994 or whatever, if I turn on WCW Saturday night and, you know, if it wasn't the Taskmaster trying to take down Hulk Hogan, because I knew of Hulk Hogan, the entire world knew of Hulk Hogan already, because he was like a household name. So it's like, I knew of Hulk Hogan. I'm watching wrestling pretty much for the first time. Who's this guy who's like beating up Hulk Hogan? And then I become, you know, I get introduced to the Booty Man, who I don't know of as, you know, Brutus Beefcake and the Zodiac and all this stuff. Like, I didn't realize that he was these other characters in the Dungeon of Doom, and then he was also the Booty Man. Anyway, Kevin Sullivan, it's a big loss to the wrestling world. Obviously, there's all those stories too about, you know, him quote unquote booking himself out of his marriage with Nancy Benoit and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of lore and stuff that goes into Kevin Sullivan. He was a booker for WCW. He was, you know, at the Varsity Club. There was a lot of stuff that he did throughout his career, and he's very influential. He also was reportedly a big part of the reason, because of the Benoit stuff, the marriage stuff, that like the Radicals wound up leaving when they did to go to WWE, because he was going to be probably in more booking power. So he was very, very important in a lot of different ways for various reasons in the wrestling world. And one really cool story that I'll tell real quick is back in this would have been like the late 90s. So probably 1998 or 1999. So backtrack a little bit. Back in like 1996 or 1997, was the first time I ever met a pro wrestler in person. It was Kevin Nash, and I met Kevin Nash in the Atlanta airport with my family. My dad is 6'6", and this was the first time I'd ever seen somebody just like completely tower over my dad in person. And I was like, this guy's humongous. And we wound up getting an autograph of his on this, like a receipt paper. This was way before camera phones and people just carrying around stuff where you can, so we got his autograph, and he was super, super cool. And I've always been a Kevin Nash fan since then, because he was so nice to me and my family when I was a kid. And he was in the NWO. I thought he was going to be mean. You know, I didn't know how he was going to react, because I was used to him being a jerk on the TV. Fast forward a couple years, my dad recognizes Kevin Nash sitting at lunch by himself in Atlanta one day. My dad just like happened to see Kevin Nash and recognize him. Oh, this is the wrestler Stephen. You know, we met with Stephen at the airport. So my dad sits down with Nash, or maybe he was standing, and he was like, hey, you probably don't remember. We met you at the airport a while ago. My son's a huge wrestling fan. Would you mind signing us another autograph? Like he would, you know, make his day or whatever. And not only did Nash sign an autograph for my dad, he asked him if he wanted to sit down with him, and they wound up having lunch together. And my dad said he was just talking about his job and stuff, and Nash was talking about, you know, whatever. It wasn't even talking about wrestling. And during this lunch, the Macho Man Randy Savage walks down, sits down with him. My dad gets his autograph. Kevin Sullivan sits down. My dad doesn't know who Kevin Sullivan is. My dad knows who Randy Savage is because he's my favorite wrestler. So my dad gets his autograph. My dad gets the autograph of Kevin Sullivan and Mike Graham. But he didn't know who either of those guys were. But those autographs still to this day, they're right here. That's Randy Savage. That's both Kevin Nash's. That's Kevin Sullivan right there. Mike Graham. Eric Watts came to my middle school back in the day, and I ran into Prince Albert at an airport also. But those are all autographs I got as a kid. And the reason I'm telling this story is because I didn't know until years later that was a Kevin Sullivan autograph, because my dad didn't know who he was, and he just brought back, a bunch of autographs. I knew who Macho Man was because it was obvious. I knew who Kevin Nash was. And then years later, I realized, oh my gosh, that's a Kevin Sullivan autograph. And then I told my dad, I was like, that was the guy, that was my favorite villain when I started wrestling. You know what I mean? And it was just the coolest thing, just knowing that all these guys, Kevin Sullivan included, were that cool to my dad. And apparently every one of them was like, they thought it was really cool that he had a son who really loved wrestling, and that just always meant a lot to me. Because you hear all these stories about, never meet your heroes, and people can be just pricks in real life and all this stuff. And it's just great to know that, for no reason other than they knew that my dad's kid liked wrestling, all those guys were super nice to my dad, signed autographs, and they're my prized possessions. I've held on to them ever since I was a kid. They're literally right behind me. So yeah, that's what I've got about Kevin Sullivan. He means a ton to me as a wrestling fan. It's a big loss for the wrestling world. And yeah, I'm going to watch some Kevin Sullivan matches probably today while I'm working.
Everyone knows, unironically, not joking, no BS, my favorite match of all time involves Kevin Sullivan.
Yes, you've talked about this. Yeah.
The Doomsday Cage match from WCW Uncensored 96. It's Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage against the Alliance and Hulkamania, which includes Kevin Sullivan. People are like, wow, is this your favorite match? What? Huh? It's everything perfect about professional wrestling. Again, you can watch your 5-star matches and stuff, fine. Whatever. Professional wrestling to me is sometimes the dumbest stuff, the hokiest stuff, but stuff that still connects, stuff that still makes sense, and stuff you're kind of not always expecting. This Alliance in Hulkamania, it's two groups coming together because they have the big bad Hulk Hogan, who they see as a threat, who they see as the top guy, and they don't like it. They want to end that stuff. And then you got people
who don't know, that group was the Dungeon of Doom combining with the Four Horsemen to try to take down Hulkamania. So these people might not even know. This was so long ago, dude. This was like 30 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
So you got two, villainous forces coming together to try to take down the big conquering superhero. That's what wrestling is almost the basis of. I know it's evolved over the years, but at the end of the day, wrestling is good against evil. That's what does the best when it comes to professional wrestling. Good again. Look at what just happened at WrestleMania 40. It's the greatest, biggest wrestle match of all time. And what it was villainous forces combining and then baby faces coming together to stop all of that. That's all it was. That's what this match is. I understand it's not as dramatic and cinematic as WrestleMania 40, but that's what this match is. And you get the cameo of Z Gangsta and the Ultimate Solution coming out. You got just the visual, the spectacle of a triple cage. It's astounding to me. They don't even know what the finish is, which is hilarious. Of do you escape the cage? But no, we got to pin the guy. There's the comedy aspect of it. It's perfect professional wrestling to me. And it's why it's always going to be my favorite match of all time. Nothing's going to top it. And Kevin Sullivan's involved in that. And Kevin Sullivan was involved in the Dungeon of Doom, which I know a lot of people saw as hokey and everything, but it is something that worked for that time period. And that mid 90s WCW, early to mid, is a sweet spot for me. Because that's what I grew up watching. I grew up a WCW kid for the most part. And so that's what I remember. And that's something if I'm can't sleep at night or something, just comfort watching, I throw on a mid 90s episode of Nitro because I guess it started in 95. So everything is sort of where it starts, but that's what I throw on. Cause that's the comfort wrestling for me is that early days of Nitro. So RIP Kevin Sullivan, part of my favorite match ever, has an impact on the business that I don't think a lot of people understand, myself included, because if you're not in it, I don't think anybody really understands how much impact these guys have. We talked to Krule, that interview's airing here in about 15 minutes. We talked to him, and Kevin Sullivan had an impact on Krule, and that might not be a connection you think of because Kevin Sullivan wasn't super involved in the business later in his career, but MLW was an area where he was involved, and Krule was somebody who he saw something in. So everyone can look forward to Kevin Sullivan Krule talking about Kevin Sullivan here shortly.
Yes, absolutely. Rest in peace.
Yeah. The other spotlight, New Japan G1 Climax wrapping up. There's 4 names left, Jensen. I don't know how much you followed of the tournament.
I know I got the semis in front of me, so I'm at least aware. Yeah.
Okay. So David Finlay, Zack Sabre Jr., Yota Tsuji, Shingo Takagi. Who do you think's winning this tournament, and who do you think is going to go on and headline Wrestle Kingdom?
Dude, full disclosure, I am super out of the loop on New Japan. So, like, I don't know if there's, like, someone that's super obvious here. Like, personally, I think it'd be cool to see Zack Sabre Jr. do it. Like, he's been around for so long, and I've always loved his style being what it is, being different. I don't really have any draw for Finlay being back in that spot. Takagi is always going to be good. Yota, I mean, dude, I really don't know. I legitimately don't know. I think these are going to be really good matches. I like to see Zack Sabre Jr. do it though. I mean, like, he's never been the world champion there, but he's come like really close. He's held like every other title there. It feels like for the most part. Like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool to see Zack Sabre Jr. do it personally.
I think it's Yota Tsuji. I'd be a little surprised if it's not Yota Tsuji. They got to make somebody. And no knock on Zack Sabre Jr. I do think Zack Sabre Jr. probably should have a run with the title at some point. I don't know if he'll ever get it, but I understand the want for it. They got to make somebody out of this, because right now Tetsuya Naito is on his kind of last legs. This is not the best performances from Naito in the G1. I don't know how much you watched, but his performances were not the Naito you would expect. Tanahashi, obviously, he wasn't even in the G1 this year because he just couldn't go through that grueling of a schedule at this point. Okada, that was sort of your big fan. Or if I'm gone.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Good.
You're
you have no audio now. Okay.
Am I good now?
So, yeah, hello? I think so. There's a little bit of a delay. We'll see. Okay. Apologies, everybody. Okay. So they've lost people, and people have gotten older, and they need to, they've anointed their new 3 Musketeers with Rin, Shota, and Tsuji. And Shota had a good showing in the tournament. Rin had a good showing in the tournament, but they got to make somebody, and it feels like Yota Tsuji is the guy they're going to make. People thought Yota Tsuji should have beaten Naito earlier this year when they faced, and he did, and it seemed like it was probably too early at the time. But now you're talking Wrestle Kingdom, biggest show of the year. Now's the time to make Yota Tsuji and go on and start building the next generation of New Japan stars. So I would be very surprised if Yota Tsuji does not win this thing. It would. I think there's a small argument for Finlay because he is Bullet Club leader, and they always put whoever's leading the Bullet Club in a good spot on the card. There's an argument for Zack Sabre Jr. because he's been there for so long, and people see him as the next non-Japanese wrestler to sort of take that mantle. Shingo, we've seen before. There's the argument for Shingo is that he's great, and so you can always kind of trust Shingo in that spot. But it's also somebody we've seen. Again, I would be stunned if it wasn't Tsuji, though.
That's probably a good call. You make a really good argument for that. Solid reasoning. They do need. I mean, regardless of who these people wind up being, they absolutely need to build new homegrown stars for the future for them, because all the guys that we grew up on in New Japan are winding down.
And they've got the guys again. They've anointed Yota, Shota, and Renarita. So they've got the guys who they clearly see as the future. Now you just got to capitalize on it and actually prove that these guys are the future.
Yeah.
let's move on to our indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Talk about Thomas Shire and Derek Neal from St. Louis Anarchy. Circus Maximus. I guess it's 19 because it's X9.
X9, yeah. Yeah.
You picked it.
This match was awesome. So Derek Neal at St. Louis Anarchy up to this point, I believe, I'm almost positive he was undefeated in SLA heading into this match. He was the champion coming in. Thomas Shire is a guy I've been watching for a long time too. Both these guys have been like a big deal in their circles for a really long time. Like I remember, excuse me, I remember Thomas Shire coming into, I believe it was Subgraps in Nashville for a show or two. And I remember Righteous Jesse, who was booking Sup at the time, was like marking out big. Like he was talking a lot. He was like, I can't believe it. Like we got Thomas Shire. This is like one of my biggest wants for this company ever. And like he came in and totally killed it. He gives me for people who haven't seen Shire before, he gives me kind of like Takeshi Morishima vibes, if that makes sense. Like he's a bigger dude, but he can really move, and everything he does looks like it's like got intent behind it. And he does like basic stuff. He's not a basic wrestler, but like this, he does the basics really, really, really well, if that makes sense. Like he can make anything look really, really credible. And same with Derek Neal. Like both, I can mimic both of these guys. Like, and Derek Neal, you know, has been the man for a long time out of like New South, like the Alabama area and Southeast. And Derek Neal is fantastic. So both these guys are two big dudes who could both really, really go. And they put on a great match. The finish was a double power bomb by Shire with a stack pin to get the 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. Fighting a little. I hate that I keep clearing my throat. This time of year is so bad because the weather just goes up and down. It just gives me like a cold every morning almost. But yeah, this was a badass match. I'd recommend checking the whole show out. Circus Maximus over on, is it on IWTV? That one's on IWTV. I'm almost positive.
I think it's on IWTV. Yeah.
Excuse me. I get all the platforms mixed up now because now people are also running shows off their own YouTube channels and websites now too. So it's all over the place right now. I'm almost positive SLA was on IWTV. Use code Fight Talk. Yeah, it was. It's definitely on IWTV. But yeah, check the match out and support the company. And Thomas Shire is the new champion. This was like the Undertaker 21-1 moment for Derek Neal, taking the L in this one. So another good example of, you know, a champion being built really well in a company, and Derek Neal winning and you know, beating good opponent after good opponent after good opponent to the point where like when somebody finally beat him, it was a huge deal. And that person was Thomas Shire, and Thomas Shire's got history in that area too, and like that St. Louis area. So yeah, this made sense all the way around, and it's just cool seeing. It's cool seeing some of these guys kind of getting their flowers, like that have been around for a long time. Like Derek Neal's been around for a long time, and I feel like he's better now than he ever has been. And like he could totally be a TV wrestler if someone gave him the chance. And Thomas Shire, like winning this championship, is getting some flowers too for a guy who's been grinding for a long time, who's been good for a long time. Banger match, and congratulations to Thomas Shire and to Derek Neal on a good title reign.
I want to get your thoughts. Everyone can go check out the show on IWTV. You mentioned another match. It was Mad Dog Conley against, he faced Manders.
In
the bull rope match. Yeah, that was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, so that was sick. Mad Dog Connolly has been really making a name for himself in these type of matches.
He had the
dog collar match.
Yeah, actually, I was going to bring that up.
Sorry.
Got a lot of praise. No, it's all good. He had the dog collar match at Action Dean. So if you've heard the name Mad Dog Conley before, it's probably from that match. We've mentioned it on this show.
Yeah, that match at Action Dean is what we talked about. This with Scott Hensley, who books the SCI. He literally said that match at Action Dean, this was because that was WrestleMania weekend. There was a lot of eyes on that show, and including Tony Khan's eyes. And that match that Connolly had gave basically like that's what it took for the SCI to be like, that's what we needed to see. And then they invited him to be a part of the tournament, which is a prestigious tournament that not many people can get into because it's obviously limited amount of people, that can be a part of that. So he got the SCI invite basically based off the dog collar match, and now he's been going around doing hardcore matches, death matches, bull rope matches and stuff. And the match with Manders was badass. Like Manders like used the bull rope to like pull him towards him for his lariat, which was nice. It looked like they killed each other. And it's one of those things where Connolly has been losing a lot of these types of matches as well, but he's gaining this like cult following that like it doesn't really matter if he's winning or losing because he's just putting on these performances. And eventually when he starts getting on a win streak, the fans are going to be behind him. Like they'll be there, they'll be ready for it. So he's planting some seeds for a really successful career. I think he's still, he's doing a good job. The match with Manders was great. So if you hear more about Mad Dog Connolly, especially in these types of matches, just don't be surprised if you see him popping up more often, kind of all over the place.
I want to get your thoughts on this real quickly. Did you watch Impulsive with Dominick and Logan Paul?
So I'm actually glad you brought that up because I was going to say we have a little extra time, and that is the topic I was going to bring up. We can absolutely talk about that before I have to clock in.
So for those that didn't see it, Dominick was on Impulsive, and the big clip going around was WWE just went to Japan. Dominick's like, "Oh, Japan's great. It was fun. Have you ever gone? Can you go?" So I was like, or Logan's like, "Yeah, of course I can go. Of course." He's like, "Okay, wasn't sure if you shadow banned, excommunicado." He's like, "You'd be a great heel, especially if you wear the hat." Logan's like, "Too far, bro. Too far."
Yeah.
This felt pretty as real as it's going to be on this kind of stuff. What were your thoughts when this happened? I was cackling, by the way.
Oh, so was I. I mean, I thought this was hilarious because it's an interesting spot for Logan to be in for a lot of reasons. Because that show's never live, right? That's always a pre-taped show.
It's always taped. Yeah, that was taped over SummerSlam weekend. I think before SummerSlam actually took place.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and the reason I bring this up is because they could have cut it. Was going to be my point. Is like if they didn't want it out there, they could have just edited it out. But it's interesting because I don't want to get too into this because I don't want Logan coming after us. But he is going through a lot of stuff outside of the world of wrestling right now.
Logan's gonna come after us. Like, he's going through a lot of stuff because he's doing a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's currently in a lawsuit where he's trying to sue a YouTuber called CoffeeZilla, who's an internet detective who is one of the guys who really like blew the lid off of some of his scams, like ZooCoin and Dink Doink and these kind of NFT and crypto, essentially crypto scams and stuff that he was involved in. So that's not good that that's going on. Prime, the bottling company that works with Prime, is apparently suing him for millions and millions and millions of dollars right now while he's in some sort of lawsuit with that. So it's one of those things where it's like Dom can get away with saying whatever he wants to Logan because like what's Logan gonna do? You know what I mean? He's kind of like a small fish in a big pond when it comes to like the WWE locker room. You know what I mean? Like he's still like the new guy as far as like amongst the boys, if that makes sense. So like so it's one of those things where like the wrestlers can really say whatever they want to him. Like what's he gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like he's got to kind of just play along. He even has tried to like use the storyline with, I think it was LA Knight recently, where he put up like a lawsuit disclaimer or something on his Twitter, which to me was like wild because once again, in real life, he's sending those types of letters for real to people that he's in lawsuits with, but he's making a joke out of it when it comes to wrestling story, trying to incorporate it. So, but I thought it was hilarious that Dom said that. I thought it was so funny. Like, cause yeah, I mean, do your own research if you want to, but y'all can find out why Logan would have some heat with Japan. Because not only did he do the thing in the forest, that's what everybody knows about, but there was another video afterwards that has also probably been scrubbed from the internet, or there might be clips up there still, but like he runs around Japan like dressed as like a samurai and then like as Pikachu, and like runs around Japan with a stuffed Pokeball. And he's like throwing Pokeballs at like civilians in Japan. Like, I choose you. And it's like, I know it's wild, but it's like, especially there where like the culture is like respectful and like Logan's walking around the whole city. It's all about the respect. You know, he's mocking it the whole time. There was like this wishing well, this like fountain that people were like praying at. and Logan walks up to it with like a quarter, and he's like, I'm wishing for hella bitches, Kobe, and like throws like coins in this thing, like people are like praying. It's super disrespectful. But this was years ago. I'm not saying that he's necessarily a good person nowadays, because there's the current stuff that he's dealing with that's unrelated to this. But I'll say it 1,000 times. In the context of professional wrestling, he's fantastic in the WWE. He has great matches. He gets big heat. He cuts great promos. He's super athletic. He learns fast. So I'm very torn on it always when it comes to him. I glaze him constantly when it comes to wrestling, and people know that. Y'all know I'm a Logan Paul fan when it comes to the WWE, but also know that I've always been aware of him as a human being behind the scenes and this kind of stuff. So it's almost like two different people. But when those two worlds merge, when someone like Dominick Mysterio makes those comments and Logan can't really say anything about it, you just kind of got to be like, oh, damn, dude, you kind of got me. That shit made me legitimately laugh out loud.
Him looking legitimately upset was hilarious to me.
There's a clip you guys need to check out before I clock in. There was a great episode of Impulsive recently with one of my favorite internet personalities of all time. He's a guy called Dax Flame. And Dax Flame is kind of like the Andy Kaufman of YouTube to me, where like he's clearly doing a bit, but part of it is like it's hard to point out like when this guy's on and when he isn't, but like he's clearly something's up with this guy. But he's been on YouTube forever. He used to be a kid doing these like rant video vlogs and stuff. And anyways, iDubbbz did a documentary on him called Ice Cream Man years back that kind of regenerated his career. And Dax Flame was recently on Impulsive, and y'all need to watch this clip of Dax and Logan do something called the Tickle Challenge, where they stand up with one another and take turns tickling each other under the arms, and like whoever laughs first loses. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet. So check out the Logan Paul Dax Flame Tickle Challenge from Impulsive, and that's your homework for the week, chat.
This sounds terrible.
It lasts like 3 seconds but it's so awkward. Like Logan going in for the tickle. It's the most awkward. It's like his face. He's so uncomfortable doing it. And then when it happens to him, he laughs immediately. It's so funny. Shucky Ducky, Dax Flame is still a thing. He is. Go to his YouTube channel. He has a variety of content that's all over the place. Anyways, I'm gonna be late for work again.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna get it. Follow me on X at Fight Talk _ use code Fight Talk independentwrestling.tv, and listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast every Sunday, FightfulSelect.com, covering the world of independent professional wrestling. Enjoy this interview with Krule you're about to hear, and good seeing you, chat. Good seeing you, Jeremy. And I'm gonna go clock in and hopefully not get yelled at this week. See ya.
Bye, buddy.
Tickle challenge.
No, not doing that at all. All right, everybody, let's get into this interview with Mads Krugger, aka Krule, aka Logan Creed, who you may know from MLW, may know from the independent scenes, one of the top guys on the independent scenes, one of the top guys in MLW. Really fun interview. So I'm gonna set this up as I didn't know what to expect. Jensen had been working on this for a while. Literally, like Jensen's been wanting to get Krule on for basically since we started this show. Because Krule's big in the Southeast scene, so Jensen's seen him and followed a lot through that when he was getting Logan Creed. But Krule isn't like necessarily all that online. He doesn't post a whole lot. He doesn't check his messages a lot. So he sent like messages, he sent feelers out, and finally, obviously, we got this done. But if you've seen Krule, you'll know he wears this mask. He wears almost like a Bane mask is kind of the best way I can describe it. So he wears this mask, and so I don't know what to expect when Jensen books this interview of, okay, is he going to show up in this mask? Because he's protective of character, as he should be, when he's on screen and everything. So I was very, not concerned, but I just was curious of, okay, is he going to show up wearing this mask and give us like 2-word answers and not really say anything? Is he going to show up without the mask, but kind of still protect the character and be in character and give us sort of short answers and kind of kayfabe everything? Or is he just going to, pull everything kind of back and let us in on everything? So I didn't know what to expect. I showed up, behind the scenes stuff. Jensen and him were already talking. He was without the mask, as you'll see, and he was just sitting back having a good time. And he's like, "Oh, we're good. Anything you guys want to do? Anything you talk about? We're all good with that." So really cool interview with him to really learn about the character, him as a person, working at all that he's done in MLW and all that he's done on the independent scene, and really cool to sit down with somebody who does play such a unique character on television and on the independent scene, but getting a peek behind all of that while he's still, very active and very relevant in wrestling. So really fun interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. So here we go in the creator spotlight. Mads Krugger, aka Krule.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is someone you know from MLW. He is the leader of CONTRA unit. He is also all over the world of independent professional wrestling. He is the iwtv Independent Wrestling World Champion. Our guest today is Mads Krugger. Krule, thank you very much for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Stephen, Jeremy, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We appreciate this.
We really appreciate this. We know that you don't do a lot of interviews. This one was a long time coming. I planted the seeds on this one months back, and the timing is right. And I'm really happy we're getting to do this. We got a lot we can cover. We'll probably jump around quite a bit throughout this interview. But first off, I want to appreciate, I was talking about this before we started recording, but I do really appreciate you kind of giving us a look behind the curtain, behind the mask, behind the monster we're used to seeing here, getting to see your face and talking to you kind of as a human being today, man. We appreciate that.
Oh man. Yeah, no problem, dude. It's listen, when you don't talk a lot in character, sometimes it's nice to let it all out somewhere. So
yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? I wanted to start actually with, on a personal note for you, they're in for the wrestling world. We had a big loss this week in the world of wrestling, the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan passing away. And I know that you had some history with him. I saw some posts that you had put up. Can you please maybe speak to the memory of the Taskmaster, who was the main villain of WCW when I became a wrestling fan?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I remember that too as a kid, that the Dungeon of Doom, it was fun. Back then I was such a Sting guy, as a kid. Sting was my hero, because I was raised in the South. So WWF was never really on my radar. It was all NWA and WCW. But yeah, I got an opportunity to meet Kevin 8 years ago. And it was he actually was doing a seminar that day, and I was going to be attending the seminar up in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I don't remember the details. I just know that he and I were the first two and the only two people there for about 3 hours before the ring got there, before anybody else got there. And we just sat and talked, for 3 hours. And he got to know me, and I listened to stories from him. And he took my number afterwards, and he called me several times over the years. We saw each other on several shows, and I know that he was probably one of the driving factors in why MLW knew who I was at one point before I was signed with them. I have no doubt because he told me he told me he'd talked to them about me. So that's just it's just cool that moment happened, and I was able to meet him. But, like I said in the post that I made about it, he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself at the time. So it's really cool. And, it's sad to see him go. We watched so many of these guys pass away that we grew up, idolizing. And now you kind of have to look at it as this is our opportunity to take that spotlight and have the same effect on the younger generation. And the next group of people who will come up and carry on this business that we love so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that meant a lot too, getting that shot in MLW when you did, because you'd been around for years. And it took a long time, I feel like, for the kind of national stage to really know about you. And you're getting a lot of the flowers I feel like you deserve right now with everything that you're doing. Can you kind of speak to that? Just how big of a deal it was, and maybe maybe a giant relief or validation of Kevin Sullivan pitched me to MLW, and not only that, but I'm here, I'm actually a part of the company and being used as a big attraction there.
Right. It is such a crazy, 20 years. So we're at 20 years this year that I've been in professional wrestling. The first probably 6 to 7 years of it was just in middle Georgia, very South Georgia, not even in the northern part where you probably had heard some of the shows. So it was a very long, hard road. I didn't start at a school. Like I always tell people all the time, when I started wrestling, we were still sharing VHS tapes, and MySpace had just started. So, it wasn't like I could just connect online and send a tweet out and say, hey, I'm open these dates. Like, now we had to, there's a lot of work that had to go into it. And if nobody knew who you are, word of mouth was a huge deal back then. So if you didn't have somebody speaking on your behalf, it was even harder, to get somewhere new. But the MLW opportunity was very huge. And, who would have thought 4 years later, we're only at 4 years since that happened. And 3 of those, I've been under the mask. And what I've done in 3 years it just completely topples anything I've done the first 17, like there's no comparison.
Sure. And I've got one more follow-up, little short story, and then I'll pass over to Jeremy. So get some questions in as well. But, we were talking right before we started recording about how, and this goes hand in hand with the big, kind of blow up you've had in recent years in popularity and everything you've been doing, and people not even realizing right away that is you, like that was you, that this was Logan Creed, who we've seen for so long. I remember years back, I was talking to John Mosley, who's been on the show many times, commentator, promoter for KOBK, does a lot of stuff in indie wrestling. And me and him were talking around the time you debuted on MLW years back. And I remember we both put it together at the same time. We were talking about like an action wrestling show or something. And we were like, man, why is Logan not like more? And then I was like, wait a second, there's a dude who just debuted at a mask on MLW like this week. Hold on. And I started looking at the tattoos and stuff. And I was like, dude, that's Logan. Like, what happened? How do we? Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there too. That like, I mean, you were just mentioning, if you can kind of tell us a little bit about that. That's happening in the locker rooms as well, where people are like put it together that is you, like after all these years.
Yeah, and that was, and I don't even know if I know names right offhand, but it's been situations where I get there, I see the guys, everybody's say, hey, look, because everybody still kind of calls me Logan. If they knew Logan, that's what they call me. And so then I start getting dressed, and as I get dressed, you see their eyes kind of wondering, like, and then when it finally gets to that point, they walk up and they're like, man, I had no idea that this is what you were doing now. Which I think that's good, right? I mean, that means if I'm doing something that different and it looks that different, then that's what we were going for. So I think that's a testament in itself.
I love that. There's a similar story that Renee Paquette has talked about John Moxley when he realized that Swerve and Killshot were the same guy. He didn't know until he Swerve came into AEW, and like he got the Iggy from someone that, hey, that was Killshot and Lucha Underground. He was like, wait, I thought that guy just had like a badass match and disappeared. Like, wait a second. And like he walked up to him and was like, you Killshot? Like he was like marking out. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun, man. And I'm sure we may talk about it more in a minute, but even the Krule character, it was a creation out of what MLW started doing with me with the Mads Krugger. That story is crazy in itself. We were in the middle of COVID. We haven't filmed in October, that would have been 9 months that there's been nothing happening. And I remember the week before we were heading to Orlando for MLW to start recording. Now, and up until that point, I had just been, I think they started calling me Grogan when they put me with MJF and Hammerstone and Holiday.
That was quick. You were Grogan very briefly. Yes.
Then they were like, no, we're not doing this. And they were like, you're just going to be Logan. Did Logan one show. That was the end of that. So the week before, he gives me a call. Court actually calls and he says, I've got an idea. We think you can do it. And he kind of pitches it to me, talks about CONTRA, talks about being, and the whole basic premise of it was just to get them out of COVID so that they could do Hammerstone versus Fatu for the title when they had fans again. So it was never even meant to last more than 4 months. And then they probably would have just sent me home. That was probably the next step. And hey, we went to Orlando. They handed me this mask and this basically, it's probably $50 worth of gear. It's like, even don't take the mask. It's like $14 online. You can buy a Mads Krugger mask. Please don't ever buy one. But no, and so I looked at it. Everybody in the locker room looked at it, and everybody was just laughing. I mean, really, it was like, is this a joke? But hey, I decided right then, I was like, I've got to make this work, because this could be my only opportunity I have left, and I did, and it was that 1 week of taping, and when I got home, I think a couple days later, he called me, and he was just completely in love with the idea of this character and where it could go and what it could be. And then I started thinking about it, and it wasn't 4 months later that the Krule mask was made. I had it drawn, had it designed, sent it to William Rockwell. He made it, sent it to me, and I took it to court, and I was like, "Hey, look at this." And he said, "Oh, that's cool." I was like, "Right." I was like, "We should do this." He's like, "It's too cool." I was like, "What do you mean it's too cool?" He's like, "You're gonna get cheated. I need you to be a heel right now." He's like, "I'm putting your face like that's over." So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do Krule. I'm just gonna be Krule then, and so that's how it's happened. And right after that, I walked in the door ICW. So
I was going to ask about almost workshopping Krule and Mads Krugger sort of on the independent scene, because you mentioned you were Mads Krugger in MLW, and then it wasn't supposed to last, but then you took the Krule idea and used it a lot on the independent scene. And then when you came back to MLW, like it almost felt like a whole new person, and like it really felt large in life. And I wonder how much of what you did on the independent scene came over into that and presenting it as a television character.
So when I love storytelling. So that's the one reason why I am in this. I love storytelling. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love good professional wrestling matches. I love watching these guys. The athletic ability of some of the wrestlers in the world now is just insane. There's also limits to what I can do in that aspect. So storytelling has always been what I want and what I'm driven behind. So when Mads Krugger, when Court kind of pitched the idea to me, he talked about the backstory of it being like an underground African like pit fighter, like a mercenary that had gotten lost in another world and was just basically fighting to survive. And in my head, I was like, well, what if I give this character a backstory, but like it plays out in real time while we're telling this story on TV? And so that was why I said, okay, I'll be Krule, because I wouldn't be Mads Krugger. Mads Krugger is with CONTRA. That's the name that CONTRA gave him. Who was he before Mads Krugger? He was Krule. And so that was just my completely 100% my made up process to all of this. And I'm like, if he was an underground fighter, where do underground fighters fight? They fight in the deathmatch world, right? That's where they would fight. And so that was the motivation behind it. And that's why I did. And you're right. Like, what happened in that time period when I left MLW for a little while was, I believed in what I was doing more than I think they believed in what they were doing. And now, as I've returned, you've seen both of them merge into one. And now you see both characters basically have this become the one entity.
Yeah, I think you nailed all that. The way you explained all that, it's literally perfect, because I watched all that play out in real time as well as a fan. I watch a ton of IWTV and all those various promotions you're a part of, and like to watch the progression of it, because I was even saying it, and I'm not afraid to say it. You're right here, and you could kill me if you wanted to. I'm very aware of that. But years back, I would say over and over on different, whether it was this podcast or the one I do on Fightful Select, I cover indie wrestling, and I would constantly say, this guy is better than what MLW is showing us right now. On your first run, I was always like, this guy is better than what we're seeing. Like, I know I get where the character is going. I liked what I was seeing, and I know you had so much talent, because I'd seen you do things on the indie scene where you're doing like dives over the top to the outside, like doing wild stuff. And I was like, man, I really feel like MLW really could be using him to a bigger degree. And then when you came back, it was like, there it is. Like, and I felt like it was all put together, just like you mentioned. Like, I think your plan worked perfectly.
Yeah. And, there's always things, there was frustrations, inside internally. and that during that first run, especially at the end, to no fault of anybody's, except for, they don't always have guys signed to deals. As you guys know, they do have some. I don't know how many they actually have anymore because I didn't re-sign this time. It's just, I'm just working for them. But at the time, when you're trying to tell a story and you're filming a month or whatever worth of TV in one night, and so you start a story and then a week later, the guy that you had involved in that's gone. You can't use him anymore. So then you have to kind of start over and you have to come up with something totally new. And that kind of happened right at the end, especially after the feud with Fatu and myself stopped. There was just really, we didn't know where we were going, and everything we tried to do just completely fell through. And I got frustrated, and I was like, I think it's time for me to go do my own thing for a little while. So, and hey, it worked out. Everything happens for a reason.
What's it been like hearing their reactions, especially right now? I mean, you're getting massive reactions from every crowd that you're in front of, but I mean, like kind of the gradual progression and hearing the validation from the fans throughout this process as well, because it's just, it was a real reinvention of kind of everything that we've been seeing up to that point from you. And I feel like it just, just continue to evolve. And I feel like you almost get kind of vibes. Like when you enter the building, it's almost like this cult following vibe, almost like in Mortal Kombat, like the OG Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s when Goro would show up and the crowd would be like, oh, Goro's going to kill somebody, I just feel like, what's it been like? I guess really ultimately what I want to ask is just the fan reaction, the fan support that you've gotten the last couple years, especially. I
love that you compared it to Goro. I've compared it to that before. But that's also what I'm going for every time I walk out. When I really started digging into this thing and this character, horror movies, of course, become a source of let me watch this. Let me see how they move. Let me see how a monster thinks, and that's part of it. The introduction, right? One of my biggest pet peeves and one of the things I tell people is the first 15 to 20 seconds that I walk out. The music, the vibe, the way I look, the way I'm standing, the way I look at people standing close to me. That's it. Like that. From there, we're done. There's not much else that has to be done now because everybody in the room, after they've watched 5 or 6 matches, are like, "Holy shit! Like this is not like anything we've seen all night. Like
Yeah.
And that means a lot. That's what you have to do. That's what you hear it from guys in the business that've been there and are there now, and they talk about separating yourself from the pack and being different. Hey, you have to be. If you want it to work, you've got to be different.
That's about working with Jacob Fatu, because you really started with him in MLW, and then you were his last. I don't know how the taping schedule was, but it was the last aired match on MLW.
It was his last.
Okay.
That was his last match at MLW, yeah.
I didn't know if that was recorded before he did the live show or after they did the live show when he faced Nagata. Just getting
maybe I wouldn't be 100% sure, but I know I was the last aired one because that was like the write-off. And
it was 100% the last aired.
He wanted that. When they talked to him about the last match, and I guess they gave him some names or options. Because then he told me this, he and I were really close, and man, I love him to death. He's one of the best people that you'll ever be around and ever get to hang out with. But he was just like, hey, when they said your name, I was like, yeah, I want Oos. He's like, give me Oos. Yeah. So he enjoyed working with me. Man, we had some awesome matches. And he's so athletic. He's one of those guys you work with. You never have to wonder where he is or what's happening. You just turn around and get ready for what's coming next. You know what I mean? It's just easy.
And it made so much sense, you being his last match as well. Obviously, the way you returned, but when you got started in MLW and pairing together, and then, of course, the Weapon of Mass Destruction match, so that being the last match for him and basically the send-off for him made a whole lot of sense. So
it brought that whole thing full circle, and we closed it out and, moved on to something new. Which is really cool. Like I said, that felt really good after that first run and the non-closure, that I didn't get, and then to come right back, and that's the first thing we do. And now we see what it's becoming, and it's becoming something different. And it's going to continue to change. We haven't even started yet. It's going to continue to grow and look different because the one thing about CONTRA was Fatu. You know, if you think about the CONTRA unit, that was his baby. Even though I know, you know, Joseph Samuel was the leader, but when fans thought about CONTRA unit MLW, they thought about Jacob Fatu. You know, so now we have to change it, and it's got to upgrade, and it's got to sound and look like Krule. So,
and you know, speaking of like, you know, this wild like crew of people you have around you and that you've wrestled against, and that your CONTRA, you know, stablemates currently, what's it like being associated with Minoru Suzuki? I just gotta ask.
Well, you know, of course, it's amazing. Just getting to work with and around these guys, and you know, they're just the guy, they're just the boys, man. You know, they're there to, they do what they love. You watch them. I watch them when we're filming backstage. I watch them having fun, you know, and enjoying what we're doing, you know, in between takes. And so that's just really cool to see. And like you just said, here I am working with these guys, you know. So it's exactly where I wanted to be. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of with the whole change over into what Krule is becoming, a big part of that was like doing death matches. And can you speak to kind of the mindset of that? Were you a deathmatch fan previously? Are there people you look up to in the deathmatch scene? I know you've worked with plenty of them now as well. Just kind of your thoughts on deathmatch wrestling and kind of your place there.
You know, it was I was a huge back in high school, so we're talking 2009, 2000. You know, I had seen the Japanese death matches. Me and my friends used to sit around and watch a lot of this stuff. Was not very familiar with a lot of the American death match, simply because we just didn't get our hands on any of it down here. And then, you know, once I started training, it was almost immediate that I was told that if I ever did any of that I would never be booked anywhere, you know, ever.
Right.
So, you know, almost immediately that was off the table. And like I said, now, and also I spent a lot of time at shows that that nobody had ever heard of. So, you know, I really didn't watch it, only because I was told not to, you know, more or less, that it was something that would get me blacklisted and I'd never be able to wrestle anywhere. But no, as far as the motivation behind it, it all kind of played hand in hand together. You know, like I said earlier, talking about creating the Krule character, you know, I knew I had to do something different. And I knew at a time when I watch on TV where guys that are, you know, 6'8" or above are treated like clowns, and it's the truth. You know, how do I create a monster in a world where people don't believe it anymore? And I was like, you know, well, if I go to that world and no sell everything they hit me with, then nobody can tell me that I'm not a monster. So that's what I did.
That's fair. I mean, and you know, somebody that you have a lot of history with and has also transformed along the way within what you're doing with Krule was Matt Tremont, Killdozer. You know, what's it been like working as an opponent of his and as an ally of his? And obviously he's one of the top names people think of, like, you know, all-time deathmatch wrestlers.
Oh yeah, dude, he's another, like, and listen, most of the deathmatch community that I've met, a lot of these guys, they're like family to me now, you know. I still talk to them, you know, we maybe months since I've seen them, but there's still conversation that just picks up and carries on right where it left off. But no, Matt's great, and he has such a great mind. Professional wrestling, I don't think people give him the credit for that he probably deserves, because they judge him based on the surface value of, oh, he's just a deathmatch guy. He's so much more than that. He the way he thinks about the business, and he's so unselfish. Just one of the most unselfish people that I've ever met. But he loves watching, especially his kids. You know, you can see how much passion he puts into the training he does, and watching them grow and prosper and become their own person. So I think it speaks volumes about him, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. He does a great job with his training with H2O and everything. Like, I mean, one of the big names out of there, of course, obviously is Marcus Mathers. And I've been hearing a lot of rumbles about him maybe being somebody who's got a shot against you potentially to win that WTV championship. The main reason I bring him up is because I feel like that list is very short right now. You've been very dominant as a champion. At points, I felt like guys like Alec Price had a good shot. There was the whole thing with like the 2 title belts going on with that. And, Alec Price had a good run. I thought Adam Priest had a really good shot at you, and you took him out as well. You have a long history with Adam Priest, and we're just kind of thinking like who might be next up. A name that does come up fairly often is maybe he's got a shot at Krule, would be Marcus Mathers. So yeah, I definitely agree that him and a lot of the people involved in H2O with Tremont are doing great stuff for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll find out about Marcus in just 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Beyond Wrestling's coming up soon, so we're not gonna have to wait long to find out.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm really looking forward to that match. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, you mentioned, going into the deathmatch world and then the independent world, and like how you could stand out with everything. Like, obviously you're a big dude, but one thing I want to kind of go back to is the match you recently had against Megan Bane. And Megan Bane is super impressive, but also female. And how do you kind of craft that of, okay, we got to make her look impressive, but I got to kind of stay who I am in my world as well. Because it was a great match. I want to go ahead and put that out there. Like, it was a fantastic match, but it's a tough match in before it played out in my head of thinking, how is this actually going to go? So I want to a little peek as much as you want to behind the scenes.
No. It's
how you kind of put that together.
So if Krule's a monster and Megan Bane's a goddess, then we stand on equal ground. If you're going to look at it, the way I look at it. So that was my thought process. And that's what I told her. Cause she, when we started talking about things, I was like, hey, you call yourself, the Megasis, right? Like, in my mind, she would do every match just like she did the one she had with me. She beat everybody's ass because she is a goddess. And, physically, she's bigger than most of the guys that I work with on a regular basis. So that was my thought process behind that match, was that if I'm a monster, then she's a goddess, and we're about to watch Darkseid and Wonder Woman fight in a ring.
Oh, it worked. Like, you guys did it fantastically. But again, like, when it was announced, I'm like, how does this go? Krule should just like dominate like he kind of does everybody, but also Megan shouldn't look too weak because she is super impressive. So like, it was fantastic. A spot that'll always get me is if you punch through something and hit somebody. Right. Love it. Absolutely love it. That spot definitely popped me. But yeah, I appreciate you kind of peeking that of how that was kind of crafted, because before it played out, I was not sure how it was going to go.
No, and it did. I love that match. I was super proud, and she was undefeated at Beyond Wrestling for 3 years. You have to think about that. Like, she had beaten former champions, former IWTV champions. So it was, you have to look at things in the realm of where you're doing it. I've seen negative feedback about it. I've seen people, I've seen the things they say, and hey, that's fine. That means they watch clips of wrestling. They don't watch wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling fans that watch clips of wrestling and they don't actually watch wrestling. So I don't worry about the fans that watch clips of wrestling. I worry about the fans that are invested in the story and they buy tickets every week to come watch us wrestle.
Well, I think it speaks to you not only in the wrestling character part, but just as a person, where I feel like if you wanted to, if this was pitched, you could maybe just be like, I don't know about this. But instead you're pretty open to it, of like, okay, let's do something. Let's figure this out and go out there and do what you did. Like, I think that speaks to you again as how you feel about your character, where you're still protective of it, but also how, as a person, of wanting to help Megan and help the show overall.
Absolutely. And that's what we're there to do. It's about the show. It's not about me. To an extent, it's about the show and what we're trying to do to build that. I just want to help do that if I can. Now, in doing so, you do have to protect yourself sometimes. Sometimes every idea is not a great idea, but there's always a way to compromise and come to some sort of agreement. I think that sometimes people forget that. You don't tell me something and I just get angry right in the moment, and now we're you walk away, you take a second, you come up with something, that maybe this is better, or maybe we could compromise on this, and then you handle things that way. It's just all about how you handle things, But in this situation with Megan, I never questioned. As soon as it was said to me, it was like, yep, I know exactly what we can do.
Can you speak a little bit about your relationship inside and outside of wrestling with Adam Priest? He's been on the show a couple times, and your name has come up quite a bit in association with him. You obviously have had some banger matches together, and you also then teamed together at DPW not long after as well, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was fun. Dude, he's like a brother to me. You know, you say he really is. He's my best friend. You know, I don't have a lot of friends outside of wrestling anymore, just because if I'm home, I'm with my kids. If I'm on the road, then I'm with the boys. So, you know, he's my best friend. We don't. There's not a day goes by we don't talk. And you know, he's 13 years my younger. Yeah, it's a very uncommon, I guess, friendship in some ways. But I mean, we share a passion for this, obviously, and you know that from talking to him and watching us work. You know, it's there in him just like it is me. So I think that's what I'm excited watching him grow, and I think I'm able to help him in some ways because of the things that I've been through and the road that I've had to travel. I can kind of help steer him in the right direction sometimes and keep his head straight when he gets frustrated, because it's so easy to get frustrated. You know, you want everything to happen today, and you have to remember that sometimes that's just not the way it works out. And I don't think anybody in the world can tell you that better than me. You know, that sometimes you got to wait your turn. So.
Sure. Yeah, it was cool seeing him pop up in MLW recently, even though it was quick. Like, you know, I just want to see him get more opportunities. He's doing great everywhere he's at. You know, I'm from Georgia as well, so and I lived in Nashville for a while too, and I seen him plenty in pretty much every circle of fans or bookers or anyone we know. I mean, it's pretty universal. Everywhere Adam Priest is involved, he's like one of, if not the top guy there consistently. Absolutely. And it's just everyone always like. He's gonna get his shot somewhere at some point. So you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And you see, I mean, DPW, you know, they put him in a great spot. They're using him, you know, well. And AEW is bringing him in a lot. You know, we don't often see a lot of those things, but I mean, he's been there a lot. You know, even if they're not putting him on TV, they're bringing him in and want him backstage. So that means he's making impressions on the right people somewhere.
I think he did call you a big idiot on our I think we were talking about the tag team match. He's like, Krule, you know, the big idiot, he teamed with me, and then I had to face him after that. So I think he did.
We do. Listen, we'll be totally fine if we don't have to wrestle each other anymore, because God, that's the word. It hurts so bad. It's just, you don't hit anybody as hard as you hit your friend, dude. It's really true. And yeah, we're good for a while. So.
When also come at you with like a flaming branding iron. And
yeah, right.
Too, so. Yeah. How much goes into, like, I'm sure this varies by match, but like, especially when you do your death matches, because sometimes I'm convinced, and I might be wrong, but I'm convinced that you guys just like find out what's at the venue. You're just like, okay, well, like roughly how many tubes are there? How many glass panes? All right, well, we're going to break all of it before the end of the match. So is that kind of the mindset of like in some of these matches, whatever's out there, we're destroying it?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I don't know. I may get hated in the deathmatch community. I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about this stuff, but no, yeah, you kind of come up to me with a list, you know, it's like, hey, here's what we got. And I'm like, all that's going to be out there? Yep. Okay. Are you going to use it all? I'm like, what do you need me to not use it? Like, what do you want me to do? And that's never even a question. It's just like, no, here's what's out there. And then when you get out there, it's never what was on the list anyway. There's always like 10,000 tubes. And I'm like, I said I didn't want but 3. Like I didn't. So now I've got to eat all this stuff, you know, because that's the thing. That's the part that I signed up for. Like, no, I'm just going to eat all this.
Yeah.
And then punch you through a door. Right. So like, you know, I'm actually the best guy to do a death match with, because you don't actually have to take anything. I'm just going to eat it all and hit you with a wrestling move. So.
Have you had any issues, and obviously you don't need to name any names, but have you had any issues with anybody like not wanting to go along that, like as far as like just you being too overpowered and them just being like, you're not selling any of this stuff. Like I don't want to hit them with 1,000 light tubes and not win. Like, have you ever kind of dealt with that before?
No, because I think I've always done it in a way to make it make sense to some extent. You know what I mean? Like it's never a matter of where I just completely walk through somebody. If you go back and watch any of the death matches I've had, like it's never just a complete beatdown. Now you may think that in your head when you watch it, which is exactly the point. Like that's what I wanted. But if you go back and look at it, you're like, shit, Krule took a lot, he took some stuff. Like he was, and at some point, even Jason, he starts staggering and then and then he's got to crawl back to life, so that's kind of how I always tried to do it, was even though I wasn't necessarily selling it, you started realizing it actually does stun him, or it may be hurting him. He just doesn't react to it. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I don't want to imply that you are just going in there and just squashing people.
No, that's fine. Because if you're talking to the right person, that's what they would say I should be doing. And I'm talking about upper management people would be like, I don't know why you do it. You should just beat everybody.
Man, I have a love-hate relationship with like the IWC or just online wrestling fans in general. But the deathmatch scene generally is pretty cool for the most part. It feels like most of the people like are on the same page. You just respect what y'all are doing to your bodies for our entertainment and stuff. But to your point, like one of the things that I think really makes what you're doing work so well is what you just said, where like you'll get beat, and that's what keeps getting me as a fan. And in the good way is like, I've watched so much wrestling. I cover so much independent wrestling in particular, and you're different than everything else going on in the scene. And part of what you're able to do is like, there's been so many matches where I thought you were going to lose that title. Like I was like, okay, this is the one. Like he has been, there's no way you win after this and this and this and this and this, and then you still win. And then the crowd is like, it's like an eerie feeling a lot of the time after you win these matches. It's almost like uncomfortable. People are like, what did we just witness? And how is this guy still the champion? Who is going to beat this guy? And I like knowing that, because so you'll probably be the forever champion. I don't want to put any bad juju out there, like you're going to lose anytime soon. But hypothetically speaking, if somebody ever beats you for that title, it's going to mean a lot for somebody to finally beat you. I mean, and that's the thing, right?
That's exactly what it should be, and that's, you think back to when I won it. What was that? 2022, October 2022, when I won it from AC Mac. Yeah. And then literally 2 weeks later, completely destroyed my shoulder. And it was everybody was equally just like, like just it hurt, because there was so much that we wanted to do, right? And you talk about forever champion, like that was going to be the idea behind it. It was just, there's just nobody that can touch him. Now what happened? I think it turned out that we told a even more fun story, with me. And the fun thing about the second title, so I just never gave back the title I had. And I don't know if they just thought I would never give it back, so they made a new one. So I just showed up with it to ICW and walked out. Told nobody. I was like, nope, I'm the champ. And then we ran with it. It was like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, yeah, who's gonna tell him? Who? I mean, did you think Krule mailed the belt back? No. Like, who's gonna tell him he's not the champion? So that was the mindset behind that. And like I said, we got the movie with Tremont out of it, which was great. We're talking about maybe doing a re-edit and releasing that again, where the match is done cinematically. I think that was cool. I wish that's the only thing I wish we'd have done differently the first time around. I thought that whole thing was done and shot so well that it took away to film the match like a regular match. I wish it would have been a cinematic match. But that potential's still on the table. We could do that again. And, like I said, everything and then led back to me and Alec Price having that match at Beyond last year, which was great. And the doors that it's opened for me in the Northeast, where now I'm a regular at Beyond, and even Wrestling Open. So I was able to prove myself to them, because they had never seen anything but the death match. They had no idea that I had the ability to come and wrestle.
So I'm gonna go a long way in setting this up, and I apologize for that. I don't know if you've seen this online. Somebody tagged you and Ben Bishop, who has been on a different show that I do, of like, oh, this would be a great match. And Ben Bishop posted a photo of you and him from one of the Rumbles I believe you guys were in together. And when I had Ben on the show, he's like, he wasn't complaining about bookings or anything. He's like, they just put me in Rumbles because I'm a big guy. Like, I get it. I'm big. Put me in the Rumble. Fine. You, big guy, you're in a bunch of Rumbles. Is it a thing of like, oh, okay, here we go. I'm in another Rumble. Let's go. What are we doing? Like, how do you feel about Rumbles?
Was that Southern Honor that you're talking about?
It was. And that's so. Fun fact for that one, I actually did Logan Creed and Krule the other night, last Friday night, in the same Rumble. So that and just,
style.
Yeah. Well, here's the best part. There was a long running debate. I'll get back to Ben. I'm sorry. But there was a debate about, who would be more over now. It's been 3 years since anybody's seen Logan Creed. And a lot of the guys in the locker room, the Georgia guys, were like, oh, Logan, these people will never turn on Logan. Logan. Hey, Krule got the bigger reaction that night, which that says a lot about what I've done. So, but no, I don't hate battle royals. I think as a big guy, you've always got your place in a battle royal. You kind of know what that spot is. And it just kind of depends. I remember early on, it's funny that Ben says that and this was back in the 2000s, but that's kind of what I got booked in. When I first started, it was always a battle royal. It was just, hey, we got a battle royal. We want you to come. And they always just wanted you to be the monster spot in the battle royal. And then everybody dumps you over. So I can understand that frustration. Thankfully, that's not what we did. Friday night, the point of that Friday night was actually to set up a match with me and Ben. Oh. So there's a little spoiler for everybody. So yeah, that match will happen sooner than later.
There we go. Oh, I'm gonna send him this link right now. I'm just try to get him to pop on and sell this whole thing. Ben's a pal. And it wasn't a complaint of like, oh God, like please don't book me on these Rumbles. But I can imagine you're feeling a little pigeonhole of things. Sure. Like, all right, Rumble, like you want to try to do a singles match or something else.
Let's just be real for a second. Ben's probably 2 inches taller than me. He's a legit giant too. So yeah, it's even worse on him than maybe even for me, because a lot of times what happens with us is the bookers and everybody looks at a guy like that and they're like, who am I going to put him against? Because then they can't do all their cool moves to Ben. You know what I mean? They can't pick Ben up and throw Ben. So I don't want to wrestle him. I can't do my cool stuff to him. It's just the truth. That's what happens. So it does pigeonhole you a little bit.
Jeremy, any success? Did you say you were trying to get?
Oh yeah, I just messaged him. I said you were burying him, and that way he'll come quicker if he feels he's getting buried. So we'll see if Ben is around to hop on.
Now I do want to ask, and obviously, if you can't go into details, I totally understand that. But you did mention a little earlier in the interview, you do not currently have a contract with MLW.
I do not. No. Yeah, I'm just per appearance. They give me dates far enough out that we don't have any conflict of interest. And I told them, if they were going to use me and we were going to do a storyline, that I would honor that. So it's a verbal handshake agreement, which is fine. Listen, I'm old school and I'm from the South. So, if we agree to something, that's what I'm going to do. You don't really have to worry about me not living up to whatever I tell you I'm going to do. So, I like that. It kind of leaves my options open at a later time in life when my time's running thin. If something does happen, now I don't have to wait a year or something, to get out of a contract. The opportunity can be there. So.
Well, that's like the obvious follow-up would be like, is there interest? I mean, like, is there anything you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's never been any conversation. The closest thing I've ever got was a WWE tryout, which did not ever happen because of COVID. So, and that was it. That's the closest thing I've ever got to a call, But, as far as AEW goes, like, I'm sure that the opportunity for me to reach out and get some of those dark spot, or not dark, but an extra or something. But I don't know. To me, I just got more respect for what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I do not mean that hey, Adam goes every week, and I've told him that. I said, bro, it has nothing to do. It's just that character presented on that size of a network or TV. You would not want to just see me standing in the middle of the ring the first time you saw me on AEW TV. You'd want to see it make an impression. So
yeah. And I mean, I totally get what you're saying, because like there's a certain it is what it is. There's a certain level of protection that goes along with the way that you look, with your character, all the equity and the goodwill you've built with your fan base and the independent wrestling scene and stuff. That like, it would be almost similar to like, and I don't mean to put this guy down because it's nothing against him, but I remember a couple years back when RSP was the reigning GCW world champion. He'd been like one of the main guys in GCW for years. And then he pops up on like AEW Dark or whatever, loses in like 3 minutes. And I'm like, man, I'm used to seeing this guy as like the top guy. And it's like to watch you go out there with, once again, all the equity in your look and how much you've done with this character. If they were to have you go out there and like do anything other than what I'm used to seeing, I don't know if I'd really want to see that as a Krule fan.
Right. No, and you wouldn't, and neither would anybody there. And that's the point. Like it wouldn't do anything for me, right. Which, I know that's the point of having that spot. But in the same breath, like I said, that's not what I want to do. I would love to work with them. I'd love to work for them. I think it would be awesome to see that and to see this character on that level of production and the things you could do with it. But I will save it for when that time comes and somebody sees me and says, shit, we should do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
I would rather wait till then.
Well, one more follow-up before I forget to ask this, and it's only because I was on YouTube earlier. I just YouTubed your name just to see what would pop up on YouTube, And there was one video that was something, I think the title of it was like, "Krule is the new Kane," quote, in my opinion. And I was like, is this good or bad? Like, is this and then like I looked at the video and it was clearly like the guy was a fan. He was like, oh dude, this is the new, like, he clearly was a big Kane fan. And like, what kind of, do you like getting those kind of comparisons? Because I feel like that's got to be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a great compliment. When if somebody compares you to Ric Flair as a worker, that's a compliment. They're not saying you're copying that person. They're saying that you're living up to the expectations put before you. And so Kane was a monster. He was the monster, and you think about how they talk about introducing somebody, like, look how they introduced him. That moment made him. That was the moment. If they'd have put Kane out there in a match in his debut, we're not talking about this today. I'm serious. Like we're not having a conversation.
They made you forget that he was a dentist with terrible teeth.
Sure, yeah. Listen, you got to go through a couple of different characters before you get the right one. Okay,
or that he was Diesel. He was Diesel.
Yeah, right. Speaking of that, if I remember correctly, I'm almost positive MLW like tried to like explain how you and Grogan and Logan like weren't the same guy. Like there was like a couple weeks there where like on commentary they were like, oh no, definitely not. Like they were trying to like cover it up. And like, it's obviously him. Like someone else on your roster that looks like this.
Yeah, I remember seeing people. They thought it was Gallows, which is funny because he and I look so much alike.
You've wrestled him, haven't you?
What's that?
You've wrestled him, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I trained with him for right before actually I signed with MLW. For about a year, I was going up to Jackson and training when he had a little school that he was doing at the time. So yeah, I've trained with him, worked with him many times over the years. So
gotcha. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. They thought that it might be Gallows and
yeah. So and here's what's cool is I think I found out later that they had actually reached out to Cody Hall for that spot before giving it to me, and he just didn't want to do it. He didn't want to work under a hood. So that was somebody else that could have very well have been there, and that would have never happened. So
interesting.
I know Jensen probably has more wrestling questions, but I want to shift real quickly because I know he also we don't take up too much time. You've already been very gracious. We're almost
you're fine.
50 minutes here. I believe I noticed a dog. I assume a dog pound.
Oh yeah, dude. This is a sports memorabilia room, dude. There's baseballs and baseball cards. That's the UGA. That's Athens.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It was the Georgia University and everything. Yeah. So I have to ask this. I've been trying to find someone who's actually played this game. Have you played college football 25?
I have.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. There's so many people I've had on and nobody's played the game. I'm like, what is wrong with you? It's our childhood out here.
Hey, I had to spend the $100 on it just for nostalgia. I don't even have I have so little time to play games anymore. And I've played a couple. I've gotten destroyed every time I play because they've changed everything now. It's like all online. Like everything's online. I'm like, y'all took all the fun. I used to like beat people 107 to nothing. You know, that's with my made character that's 100 stats. Like I just basically made Krule every time I played it. So,
start with specials and finishers already loaded before the match.
Right. So but no, it's a different. It's fun though. It's like I said, I play with the boys sometimes. I've got three boys, 13, 11, and 5. And so they, of course, love video games. And so it's fun to kind of go back. Actually, my little brother came over a few weekends ago, and we played a game, which was you talk about throwing back. You know what I mean? So, and he stomped my ass. And so that was definitely retribution for him because I used to beat him pretty bad.
My kids aren't into the sports games at all. They like the Fortnite and things like that. So I'll play with that and they destroy me on that. This game came out. I was like, all right, you know what? I don't care if you like this or not. We are playing this and I'm getting back all these times you guys sniped me and killed me in Fortnite. So that's what I had to do. With this. I'm glad somebody's finally played it. But yeah, there's a childhood nostalgia.
No, and like I said, it's fun. It's just cool to have again.
I have an update. I have an update from Ben Bishop. He's being cowardly, and he said that he is in a class right now. I won't say what kind of class. I won't blow up his spot like that, but he says he is in a class. So I'm going to call him a coward and tell him that we will continue to bury him.
He's in coward class. You're in coward class, man. Big trouble. Big trouble.
Right. Don't be too hard on him. He is bigger than me, dude.
Dude, he'll kill me. I've seen him in person before here in Georgia. I'm not messing with that. Yeah. So we ought to get him on here sometime soon as well. That's a good reminder. It'd be cool to get him on.
Oh, he'll definitely be down. He's great.
Speaking of like games and stuff, side note, Madden comes out this week. I've been waiting on that. I didn't want to get Madden and NCAA just because they're so similar, but it is really cool that NCAA is back. How cool is it, by the way, to have your own action figure?
Oh man, are you kidding me? There's one back here behind me somewhere. That was my dad's really funny. He talked. That's when that first come out, or when I got him, and he had ordered one. He got his. He called me to the house, And it's like it's super secret. Like I didn't know what I thought I was in trouble. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And he's like, calls me in his office, and he's like, "Sign this." And I was like, "Why don't you just tell me to sign it?" He's like, "You're hiding this from mom? Like, what's happening here?" But no, he was like, "No matter what happens, now you made it." And I was like, "That's it. I'd still like to have some money, but yeah, you're right. You're right. No, it's super cool, man. I think one of the best parts about it for me was I was able to get a boss fight. They actually sent me one early, right before Christmas this past year, and I was able to give it to the 5-year-old for Christmas. And man, that made his whole Christmas. So that was super cool, and it's just cool to see him playing with it, and just to kind of like try to imagine in my own mind as a 5-year-old kid what it would have been like if my dad would have been an action figure. You know what I mean? So it's super awesome.
How does he book
figures? I was gonna say they're great. They're great action figures, by the way. Like they're really well made. Your likeness is done really well on that figure.
Yeah, and they're durable because he's had that one, the same one since Christmas. And listen, there's no paint chips. Everything's still functioning. So I think that speaks a lot because I fell off of everything in the house. No, it's funny. He's been using a Drew McIntyre figure as Matt Justice.
I was just about to say you can recreate Matt Justice in your house. That's so funny that you just said that.
I walk into the kitchen and there's the windowsill, and he's got me and Drew, and I was like, "Well, what are we doing?" Because like the ring's down below the windowsill, we're up here, and he was like, "You're wrestling Matt Justice," and I said like, and then he just falls off over into tables, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're watching the product, I see." We don't do anything in the ring.
So. Yeah, you can have Matt Justice come over and help him book the matches. Just literally walk in and just start finding the highest points.
That's exactly, whatever the highest thing we can jump off of today.
Yes.
So. I was gonna say, are you being booked strong in the Fig Fed by the 5-year-old?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think the only person that beats me is Rey Mysterio from the WCW version though, the purple. So that was like he had to have that one. That was the one. So yeah, that's my normal contest. Is every time I walk in, I'm working Rey Mysterio.
That's great. You said the purple, so that's like the Halloween Havoc. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
had to have that one. Had to have it.
Speaking of having to have, I do need. I missed the sale period when those MLW figures came out because they actually sold really well. I mean, like everyone was doing really well in that line. I do need to get one for myself ASAP as well because by the time, so this will be airing on Thursday morning and we're live before this airs. I'll be in my office. I'm a big collector and I love getting things signed, especially by people we've had on the show. So like, I'm going to try to find that figure. And then whenever I see you in Georgia, I'm going to try to get that thing signed and put it in my office.
If I see you before you get it, I have some. So,
I will. But when we end this interview, I will inquire about how to obtain that. That is music players.
I as soon as I knew they were available to me, I ordered a lot of them.
Let's go.
Just to have, because you don't ever know. It might be nice to have a case in 10 years if I do really something big happens. So,
dude, I'm looking forward to that. It'll literally be it'll be my backdrop in my new office that I've been putting together. It'll be behind me when we're doing interviews going forward. So,
yeah, I got
awesome.
you.
Awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that. Jeremy, any final questions? We always ask everybody the coolest thing in their room. You got a lot of cool stuff behind you. I don't know if it's gonna be tough to choose.
Yeah, hold on. Let me grab this.
Awesome.
I love this memorabilia setup he has.
Yeah, this is sick.
Yeah. Knowing like a lot of that stuff is like autographed football, baseball kind of stuff. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what you're about to pull out here, knowing that you have all that stuff and you're almost being asked to pick the absolute coolest thing.
I feel like he's about to bring over a baseball signed by Babe Ruth and the rest of the squad. To replace
Sam Mutz.
To replace the Babe Ruth ball that he lost over the fence.
Here. Is this it? No.
Oh no.
I'm missing it, guys. I don't know where it's at.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no, it's in here somewhere. Oh, here it is.
Okay. All right. Glad we found it.
Who's Baby Ruth?
The writing on it's so it's just so faded. You can't really see. I can't see. I don't know where it's at. It's in here somewhere. I have a lot of signed balls, so but it's so when I was a kid, I don't remember exact age, but this would have been the year when the Atlanta Braves won the pennant for like the first time in forever.
Okay.
So like early 90s,
Yes.
But we went to the game. We got there. They were doing batting practice. Somebody hit a foul ball. Actually, like bounced off the bleachers, hit me in the head. So yeah, we started early with this, and it bounced back into the field. And the groundskeepers couldn't give us the ball. They, it's just against the rules for them to do. So some ushers come down, checked on me. They got me a bag of ice. Well, like the seventh inning of the game, the same usher comes back down with a ball, and he had taken it to the dugout and had the entire Braves team sign the ball.
Oh, nice.
We're talking Glavine and Smoltz and Jeff Blauser and Steve Avery.
Oh, let's go.
Just, it's covered. Just Francisco Cabrera, who's the one he hit. I think he hit the hit that scored the winning run for the pennant. So that's probably just not even the coolest thing, just the coolest story of the coolest thing that I have,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I was a huge baseball fan as a kid, and I remember those 90s Braves teams very well. That was like the whole everyone you just mentioned. And then you can go deep cuts because I can't remember exactly like what years guys kind of came and went, but I mean you can go deep with like Rafael Belliard and Mark Lemke and Ryan Klesko and Otis Nixon. All those dudes, man. It was like anyone who David Justice a little bit later on, man. Fred McGriff. I love those 90s Braves teams, man. That's really cool that you got something like that.
Yeah, this is sports room. Well, then there's a room just dedicated to toys and like hot toys. So like I actually have a video of that on YouTube, I think, of that room. So it's just
I love that.
We just go into the different headspaces of my completely screwed up brain.
Dude, this validates so much, honestly, in my own life, because the next time that anybody looks at because I live in a man cave by myself. So like my living room is just Minnesota Vikings because that's my NFL team. My office is action figures, and I've got a little thing with signed baseballs and stuff too. And it's so funny because I take so much pride. It's like my magnum opus is like, this is my kitchen technically, and I got a Cody Rhodes WWE 2K14.
Yeah,
there's
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But it's especially not wrong now, Krule, because now from now on, anytime somebody tries to roast me on it or says that I'm wasting my time, I'm gonna be like, yeah, Krule collects. He does the same thing I do. You know, you're gonna say to him about it.
Don't let anybody roast you for that, dude.
Yeah, you've got my back now. I love it. Thank you very much. Well, that's all I've got. I could talk to you for hours. We'll try to have you back again in the future. But like, I really appreciate you doing this. I know you don't do a lot of these interviews, as we mentioned at the top. So,
what are you doing? We got a special.
We got to run in.
Let's go.
Yeah, we got to run in.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
What's up, man? What's your name?
What's your name? You tell your name.
Grixis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm almost done. You want to go play games? Yeah. He's ready to play video games.
Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
You want to play with me?
Yeah. What do you want to play? Fortnite? No. What is it? Roblox? Gang Beast. Yeah. It's either Gang Beast or Roblox or.
Roblox is big in this household as well. Yeah.
All right, I'll be there in just a second. I'm coming. All right. I love you.
And you're teaching him well. You're teaching him well. He's rocking a Ninja Turtle shirt. I very much respect that. And
did you see they made they come back out with the ones from like when we were kids recently, like the whole series of them again? Like, do you remember those? Like back in the 90s?
Yeah.
We bought all of them. Like I bought all of them.
That's such a slippery.
He's open and playing with all of them, but I was like, that's you need to play with these.
I'm sure you do the same thing. I have to like create these rules in my head to like justify or not justify buying certain things for these collections, right? So like my thing is I only collect turtles now. It has to be specifically Secret of the Ooze for the second movie or the newest movie that just came out, because I saw it with like my family and it was a good time, really nostalgic. So like I collect for Mutant Mayhem and for Secret of the Ooze specifically. But that gets expensive too, because like all these NECA figures come out that are like, you know, incredible nowadays and stuff, and they're super expensive, but you got to buy them before they triple in price. So you gotta get them.
Kids made it all worse, dude. It just that didn't help any of the problem with spending money on toys. It just gave me an excuse to toys. Like,
yeah, amazing.
I got 3 kids over here.
Yeah, it's just my kids. It's just why are you buying 3 of them?
I can't tell you how often I come across that scenario, just like checking out from like a Target or a Walmart, just like with like a handful of toys and people look at me like, oh yeah, how old are your kids? It's like, yeah, these are for me. I'm 36, but you'd be impressed with my collection, I think. And I cover pro wrestling, so tell me how free. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to keep you too long. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yes, Krule, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you at, where they can support you at, anything you got coming up, anything you want to get out there and just promote.
Any of the social media is at Atrocity Krule, so pretty easy to find. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever else there is now. I just add it and like that I can just share it all at the same time. But you can follow me in any of those. And then, you know, I'm actually off this weekend. I took some breaks during the summer, but we're getting ready to kick back off pretty hard into August and into September. Next week is going to be TWE in Chattanooga, actually, on Friday night. That's their big 11-year anniversary show. So that's going to be fun. It's been a while since I've been back to Chattanooga, probably since ICW was running. So it's going to be fun to be back up there. And then the very next week, we're going to be in New York with MLW. And that's going to be the road back to Atlanta, where I'll be getting my MLW title shot. So that's going to be a big deal and a lot of fun. And then beyond that weekend. So, like I said, it's going to be a busy end of the year. It's already pretty much filled. It's already pretty much full. Probably just December. I still got some open dates, but as you can imagine, October fills up really fast. So just follow me there. Follow me on social media. I do a really good job of posting where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing.
Off this weekend, but technically not, because MLW Never Say Never aired on YouTube and you were part of that show. So technically not really off.
That's right. I love that. That's the best part about pre-tape shows, man.
There was a few weeks back when we had Adam Priest on. He was coming off of a week where on the same night he technically won the SCI and won the DPW National Championship.
Yes.
DPW was pre-tape. So Twitter was blowing up. He won. It's a huge night, 2 different promotions at the same time.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes it fun, man. I mean, that puts your name out there a lot, because if somebody sees one thing and then they're looking at, he just did this somewhere else, like at the same time, like, so
that's full circle. Great. Same building, TWE. That's where the SCI went down. Can't wait to see you there again, Chattanooga, and I'll hopefully be there live in Atlanta for MLW 2 at Center Stage. I love that venue. So
awesome.
Yeah, thanks again, Cool.
Thanks, thank you so much for doing this, guys. All the links are below where you can follow, where you can support Krule. Again, thank you for joining us here tonight. And guys, we'll be right back here on the spot. We are back. Big thank you to Krule. Again, really fun interview. Hopefully people enjoyed the peek behind the man behind the mask there with Mads Krugger. He will be in action at MLW. He'll be at TWE. Again, you can follow him on socials. He's promoting where he's going to be at. And that is everything for us today. We appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat, being active in the chat, leaving a super chat, leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week talking all the things going on in the world of professional wrestling, all the news, all the happenings. It is AEW All In next weekend, so we'll have plenty to talk about there. Could be my last show, as Cole Radrick is threatening to kill me at the Schmitty event on next Friday, August 23rd. Everyone, if you're in the area, go check that out. If it becomes streaming, I'll let you know where it's streaming. We'll continue to promote Cole and all the good things he's doing with that event. Guys, we'll be back next week. Everyone can head over to FightfulOverbooked.com. Check out In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. Check out Coexisting with Rob and Maggie every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have Wrestling Made Me Cry with Auntie Collins and Kylie. That is back. That returned this past weekend. That is Sundays at noon. And Indeed with Mike and Reg. That is Wednesdays at 6. As we appreciate it. All the love, all the support. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Whatever you're doing this weekend, hope everyone enjoy yourself. Have a good weekend, everyone. We'll be back next week. Bye, everybody.